I know them from. Oh, yeah. They have a great reputation. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't remember. Okay, yeah. We're on the committee. You know more than we know. Anything else? How about entertainment?
No, that's right now. Yeah. I had a conversation. Yeah. If it doesn't, I know.
Yeah. Oh.
I got changed. It's so nice and clear. Alright, so I gave a green light. Yeah, because I'm working with the weekend. Get it all.
I have no idea. Like, you know, just keep it up. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
How does that go?
Right, yes, right. Well, that's what my residents are saying. Okay, Arlene, it's 7:30.
Adequate notice of the time of this meeting was given under the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act and was posted to the officially designated newspapers in compliance with the law. Mayor Patricia?
Here.
Councilman Vitale?
Here.
Councilwoman Testa?
Here.
Councilwoman Burns?
Here.
Councilman Cortez?
I'm here.
Councilman Santinello?
Here.
Councilman Lee?
Here.
Okay, if everybody can stand for the flag salute, remain stand for the invocation. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is most appropriate that in this country, which is founded on the bedrock of religious freedom for all people, that we take this opportunity to ask for guidance. First, we give thanks for the freedom that we share, and in particular, we appreciate our freedom of speech. Second, we ask for guidance in the decisions that we deliberate on this evening. We all do not share the same opinion on each topic to be considered, but we must evaluate the views of others. Therefore, we ask for guidance so that the people of Point Pleasant Beach benefit from our decisions. Third, we ask blessings for those assembled here this evening, as well as all the residents of Point Pleasant Beach.
Okay, welcome everybody. Can I get an approval of the minutes? We'll do them one by one, I guess, Eileen, right? Can I get approval for the June 15th, 2021 minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Councilman Vitale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Testa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Burns?
Yes.
Councilman Cortez?
Yes.
Councilman Santinello?
Yes.
Councilman Lee?
Yes.
Can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes of June 22nd, 2021?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Councilman Vitale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Testa?
Yes.
Councilwoman Burns?
Yes.
Councilman Cortez?
Yes.
Councilman Santinello?
Yes.
Councilman Lee?
Abstain.
Fantastic. We're going to open up with just a quick discussion on the AJ Muir and then we'll jump in. Then we'll take the motion and tackle that. So, as everybody knows, we have entered into negotiations with the GSA to have a direct sale of the historic Coast Guard station, and we have received already $1 million and are possibly in line to receive some more funding for Channel Drive revitalization, which is really putting a great focus on our waterfront areas, our non-beach waterfront areas in town, and really helping with the maritime history of everything. As part of that, I have been trying to attract a host of different entities to town to, bring in tourists in a little bit different vein, a year-round vein, historically focused vein as well. And one of the components of that is the AJ Muir. The AJ Muir is New Jersey's tall ship. It's a historic old oyster boat that has been fully restored and is actually coming to Point Pleasant Beach the end of August to early September. Because of some issues with the Coast Guard, it's not going to be able to do nightly sailings because it literally has to leave here and go up to New England, where it'll be completely overhauled and fixed and ready to go for next year. But as part of those discussions with the AJ Muir, I've told them how important it is for us to try and attract them to come and be based here in Point Pleasant Beach. I think, harkening back to kind of our maritime history, it would be iconic to have a huge tall ship that you would see the sail coming over the bridge into town, a hallmark of Channel Drive revitalization and the effort that we have ongoing there, which a letter of intent was actually issued to the property owner by some developers this past week. And I had them in for a meeting. The borough administrator was in that meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I told them, what would it take to attract you guys here at Point Pleasant Beach? And interestingly enough, they said that they had actually been discussing that, and that they are very open to that. So we were in receipt of an official letter from the AJ Muir saying that they would like to enter in discussions to make Point Pleasant Beach their summer home. the components of this it's a complicated operation. Apparently in the off-season, having a historic wooden boat is a huge pain in the butt. And they're constantly ripping it apart and, and it's pieces all over the place and whatever. And they're based down in Byvale, New Jersey right now. So in theory, if this were to move forward, they would keep that area as well. And even in the summer, they would probably still sail around and go to some different areas. But what we discussed is having them summer ported here. Now, because of their designation as a historic landmark, the ship itself, they told us that they would be in line to receive at least 50% of funding for the building of a dock that could accommodate them here in Point Pleasant Beach. And they might even be able to get more through some of their benefactors. This discussion tonight is not to authorize funds or anything along those lines. We're still a long ways away from that. But rather than just me sending a letter back as the mayor, what I wanted to bring up for discussion was all of us unanimously as a council authorizing a letter to be sent back to them from the council officials saying we're very interested in opening discussions and seeing where it may lead. In an ideal world, I would see the developer of Channel Drive playing a part of this, maybe giving us, we have the street end. One of the reasons that I wasn't a proponent of the kayak on the street end of Baltimore while this was unfolding was that's the county street end right there. And Laurelton Welding, the developers have an option on Laurelton Welding. They obviously have the property to the west as well, so the east and the west. The ship would not necessarily need to be parallel to the shoreline. It could be perpendicular to the shoreline where it could come straight in. We have some dredging coming up soon, and they come and dredge regularly. We have to talk about that. That's one of the components as well. But it may require only a little bit of give and take from the developer. And quite frankly, if you're coming in and you're building a corporate retreat, a high-end facility like they're looking to do, a nice hotel and restaurant, you have every incentive in the world to want to have this tall ship sitting right there in front for your, to attract your residents and guests. And then with the Coast Guard station, as we're filling out that area, what they would need is a room or two in the Coast Guard station, which has a full basement that you can stand up in, a full first floor, a full second floor, and a half third floor. They would need a room or two in the Coast Guard station for crew rest and to cook some meals. We have a commercial kitchen, luckily, in the Coast Guard station as well.
Also a Gulf Coast.
Yes, the Coast Guard, right, correct. So all of this lines up properly. I wanted to give you guys as much of the universe as possible. There's still a million steps that need to fall into place, but I'd like to ask if there could be a motion for a resolution to write a response to the AJ Muirwald signifying the borough's interest to open into discussions to attract them to have Point Pleasant Beach be their summer home.
So there's no financial commitment?
No financial commitment, just the cost of the stamp.
I'll make the motion.
At this point.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Great.
Councilman Vitale?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Torres?
Yes.
Councilman Cortez?
Yes.
Councilman Santinelli?
Yes.
Councilman Bacon?
Yes.
Great, and thank you very much for making that unanimous. And I'm willing to move on my reports and everything. If there's a motion, if you guys want to tackle the
I'll,
other stuff first.
Just because I know it's going to be long, I'll make a motion to carve out 1W and move that up, dispensing with the standard Robert Rules of Order. So let's move that up now.
And there would be a public discussion
Public
component.
discussion component of that, and I'll make that motion.
Things we did with the kayak.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming we would do the same thing as usual as well.
Yes.
Which is that we would have the resident taxpayers speak first, and then people would come second.
Perfect, exactly,
Yeah.
yep. But we would all speak first.
Yeah, of course.
And I will take the liberty to speak. Oh,
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
aye. Okay, great, thank you. So that's going to get moved up.
What that means, folks, is we're going to talk about the Elks first. So you have to sit around
And then vote on
all
it.
of the,
Yeah.
all of the, shoots.
Instead of having you wait around long.
Yeah.
All right, try and not get burned because the speech is so hot as I got right here in my hands right now.
Oh, God.
All right, good evening, everybody, and thank you to the Elks for coming here tonight, and especially thank you for keeping your numbers limited at my request. I appreciate that. We all were obviously trying to not have it be a big circus-type atmosphere. So again, thank you for that and being so respectful throughout the process. But also thank you to the nearly 600 people who have called, emailed, texted, messaged on Facebook, liked posts, and commented in various ways about their support for bringing the Elks back home. 2 years ago, this council voted to kick the Elks out of their longtime home at the Seafood Festival. We all know that. But here's the most important component of that day that occurred before public comment even began. The mayor at the time looked out at the sea of people who had come here to support the Elks and proclaimed that no matter what they said, there would be no changing of the council's mind. You can check the minutes and the newspaper stories to verify that. I urge each and every one of you up here today, on the dais, to not be so close-minded and to not make the same mistakes of the past. If your mind is already 100% made up and nothing that is said here today will be considered, then you're ignoring the most important part of your job as an elected official and representative of the residents. You all listened when people showed up to protest the kayak ramp, despite most of us being in favor of it prior to their arrival. You took what those people had to say into real consideration. You changed your mind when you saw the 150 signatures. Well, that is a drop in the bucket compared to the type of support the Elks have on the issue before us today. Does that not deserve the same consideration? Let's be frank, the residents haven't been put first in Point Pleasant Beach for a while. We've been making a lot of progress towards changing that, despite the votes of some. We need to continue that trend here today. I'd ask everybody that approaches the podium tonight to ask the council members if they're listening to you and if there's anything you can say that would change their minds, or if they've just blindly decided already that there's nothing you can say that would cause them to budge. The core underlying issue here is the chief choosing to recommend denial of the Elks permit for the third time. Let's not tiptoe around that. He has every right to recommend a permit application denial. But it's just that. It's a recommendation. It's not the final say. The governmental process doesn't end at a department head's recommendation. Our forefathers wanted the residents to have a voice in the process. That's why the council ultimately votes at the matters at hand. Our job is to take the residents into consideration in the process after listening to department heads. The precedent that would be set if department heads' decisions were rubber stamped without oversight would be monumental. Our job is to take residents' needs into consideration and then weigh that against everything else. I've read the denial letter. It honestly and objectively does not quantify how the Elks event is making things less safe in a sea of 50,000 plus. It honestly and objectively doesn't quantify anything. Here's the most concerning part, though. The message in the denial conflicts directly with the message sent in another application, the wine garden. In the chief's memo approving the Chamber's wine garden for the Seafood Festival, it says they anticipate 5,000 people to walk through. Yet that is up for approval tonight and has been recommended for approval. There's no way on the planet the Elks will have that number of people. I've asked for the wine garden to be added last minute to the agenda tonight so that when we vote, we will all be forced into being hypocrites or not. Obviously, if you vote against the Elks, you must vote against the wine garden, or there will be no doubt that you have conflicting stances. I think that's only fair, don't you? But I believe you should vote to approve both of these events. The chief is on record saying the Seafood Festival is the safest it's been in years, and I agree with him wholeheartedly on that and thank him for his major role in making that happen. In the past few years, things have all gone in a positive direction. Dump trucks and other heavy vehicles block the entry points to the festival. This council has voted to change the layout of the festival to a safer, more open one. We've hired 2 new full-time police officers. We've hired roughly 20 more additional seasonal officers than we've had in the past. I'd like us all to take a look at that for a minute. The Seafood Festival is light years safer than it's ever been, and it's quantifiable. Now is the time to bring the Elks back. The chief's concerns in his memo are about the Seafood Festival's overall growth. If you share those concerns, then make the Seafood Festival smaller. Cut back the number of vendors who come from outside the town. Why would you put them before the residents in a cherished event that they love anyway? The Elks are also offering as many off-duty cops as are necessary. I know the chief's stance is if a major event happens that he won't be able to coordinate with him, but there's an easy fix to that. We can have those officers meet in the weeks before the event, game plan different scenarios, and have concrete plans on what to do should an event unfold. We can't let the vague, unquantifiable fear of the unknown guide our decision-making as a council, especially when bars and clubs in town handle much larger crowds and will be handling much larger crowds that weekend using off-duty police officers and private security themselves. The Elks even have a dispersion graph, which I'm going to pass around everybody right now. One, three.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3. And that graph shows that there will be no more than 450 people in the event at any given time, and there will be a police-to-patron ratio of 40-1. That's better than our biggest bars and clubs in town, and certainly better than the Wine Garden. Let me make this very clear. It's okay to disagree with the chief of police. These are governmental decisions. They're not blood oaths. Councilman Cortez and Santinello showed this when they voted against the sweeping beach ordinances that the chief supported, and we tried to make this town safer. It doesn't make anyone anti-police or anti-law and order. Councilman Santinello's son is an officer, so it would be impossible to say he doesn't support the police. He just felt in that instance that he didn't agree, and it was his right, just like it's your right today.
Please don't bring my son to me. I really appreciate that.
Okay? As a council, I truly believe we have been the strongest supporters of law and order in the history of Point Pleasant Beach. Not only have we added the new and part-time officers, but we've added a 5th lieutenant at the chief's request for the first time ever, growing police leadership. We've increased the police salary budget. We've increased the police operational budget. We've increased the police departmental budget. We are spending hundreds of thousands more dollars than the previous administration to make sure we equip the chief and his men with everything they need to keep us safe. In fact, tonight, you'll be voting on $15,000 in new vests and tactical equipment and $5,000 in repairs for the chief's vehicle. Personally, I stood in the substation for hours when the unauthorized beach party happened. I stood side by side with the chief in the press conference for the ridiculous marijuana law. I never shrink away from helping the police when an issue legitimately threatens our residents, regardless of whatever slings and arrows I take as a result. There can be no doubt about our support of the police. I believe every single one of us up here had a "We Support the Point Pleasant Beach" sign in our yard, and most of us helped convince our neighbors and friends to take them as well. But it's still okay to say no once in a while. The chief is a consummate professional. He's not going to protect this town any less if you vote against his recommendation today. The telltale signs of a bad decision are generally when there's no offer of compromise, no hard facts supporting it, no hard data, conflicting comments, and no willingness to listen. Do you see any of those components here today? And where is that compromise? As a council, have you demanded X number of security personnel from the Elks? Have you come up with a limit to the number of guests allowed in the venue at any time? If you're voting out of some crazy non-fact-based notion that we somehow have just the right number of resources to protect the seafood festival, but not the Elks, which is wild in and of itself, then vote to shrink the festival by the number of stalls or people that make up that difference that you believe in your mind we can't protect. Do something quantifiable and fact-based. You have the right to do that as council members. Do something. Do anything to address the vague, insane idea that a few hundred locals supporting the Elks at their Oktoberfest fundraiser will compromise this town's safety when there have been 0 incidents in the decades it's taken place. Just don't sit there and vote no without any solutions. My guess is Bob will vote no because he hates the Elks and thinks they helped the previous administration lose the election.
I don't hate the Elks at all. You wait till my speech, jerk off.
I'm pretty sure Andy will give a speech. Fair enough. I'm pretty sure Andy will give a speech about how he likes the event, has gone there for years, and then vote against it anyway, saying he can't go against the chief, even though he has no problem voting against the original beach ordinances when the town was under siege. But what about the rest of you? Charitable organizations were absolutely decimated by the pandemic. I believe 7 17 VFWs closed across New Jersey this past year. Elks lodges across the country are in similarly precarious positions. If you vote no on helping our lodge continue their mission tonight, there may not be a chance to right the wrong next year. It may be too late. Thank you for your consideration. Despite how passionate I get about things like this, you know I don't take it personally. All I hope is that you had an open mind listening to what I had to say. I'd also suggest looking at those who have years more experience in your shoes making hard decisions. Mayors Hennessy and Barella couldn't be two more different types of leaders, but they both support believing in bringing in the Elks and bringing them back home. That alone should speak volumes. No matter how you vote, I'll still treat everyone the same way as I always have, but you will have to answer to the residents. They're who elected you. They're who you represent. Just keep that in mind as you vote tonight. Thank you for your time.
Mayor, I'd like to have the floor first.
Go ahead.
May I?
Go ahead.
Chief, you want to have the floor?
Go ahead.
I don't care. Would you like me to respond?
Go ahead, Chief. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chief.
Okay. And then you'll
I'd like to.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate your comments. I do appreciate everybody's support from the mayor on down. This is quick. This is a one-pager, so it'll be quick. I would like to start off by commending the Elks organization for the amazing work it does for the community. The Elks should definitely be commended and be proud of the philanthropic history of service. Although I, along with the community, are thankful for these efforts, I am also keenly aware of how political this special event application has become. In service of political campaigning, promises were made to those in this organization without consideration of repercussions of those decisions. As chief of police, decisions cannot be made in isolation. I do not have the luxury of simply going with popular opinion or the majority. Rather, I must place the safety of the residents first, and I must consider my resources and manpower before committing to any proposal. The safety and security of tens of thousands of people are contingent on those decisions. Decisions that can ensure or jeopardize the well-being of our residents and visitors. It is ostensible that Pleasant Beach has become increasingly more popular over the years. Being an attractive destination, copious amounts of people crowd this tiny short community. Every weekend and most weekdays, we are tasked with managing the crowds who enjoy our beaches, bars and restaurants, boardwalk amusements, and nightlife. And this influx of people no longer ends with Labor Day. Considering the amount of people we are required to police, I am extremely proud of the men and women of this police department who do an excellent job under extraordinary and difficult conditions. And incidentally, I believe that every one of you feel the same way. To ask them to police the town, the boardwalk, the Seafood Festival, and the Elks could be unmanageable and irresponsible. In 2019, many measures were taken to improve the operations and safety of the Seafood Festival, including changing the layout, moving the seafood vendors into the parking lot off River Avenue, and utilizing additional space to reduce crowding. In 2021, you will notice additional changes to the layout to bolster our primary initiative, keeping the community safe. The Seafood Festival itself already requires the support of additional municipal agencies, as well as county, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to ensure public safety. Our resources are depleted at this point, and to add an additional large event would not only counteract the new procedures and precautions we have taken, but also jeopardize the welfare of all in attendance. I therefore must make the best decision for the town and deny this application.
Thank you, Chief. And, look, I think I just want to take 2 seconds on that. I think this is important. The Chief recognizes that we all respect and support the police officers. But I'd ask you to think about what the Chief just said. Is there anything in there that quantifies numbers, that quantifies data, that quantifies number of individuals we can handle or can't handle, or anything along those lines? Because that's fact-based. If it was saying, well, if the Seafood Festival was half the size, we could handle it, this, that, other thing, you have X number of officers per area, whatever it may be. But the reality of the situation is, we're talking about a small subsection, which you see in the charts here, of a couple of hundred people at any given time, in which the council has the ability to mitigate even further if they want. So, especially when you conflict that with the wine application, which was also granted for approval and is on for approval tonight, I just, personally, I don't see how that's quantifiable. So that's all I have to say, and Councilman, you asked to go next. Go.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Mayor. First, I'm going to address the original beach ordinance. Yet, at the introduction, I voted no, because I felt it was government overreach telling private business when they can open and close and how old the people are they have to hire. Once it was put back on the agenda for second reading, I did my homework and I contacted the beach owners, and they were okay with it, not ecstatic, but okay. I don't want big coolers and big parties on the beach like the mayor says, you know, I voted no. Those two lines in there, I'm a business owner myself, so I want to clear that up.
Can I let the record show that the councilman said that before he chose to change his mind about the beach ordinance and vote for it, that he called businesses themselves to make sure that they were okay with it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I did my homework. I called to see how.
We're elected by the residents, not the business.
You're absolutely right. But I called the businesses. Gotta keep politicking when you're not supposed to up here on the dais. The Elks, unfortunately, I have two concerns here that really trouble me. The first one isn't as bad. On the agenda, we carved it out, it says approval. When this application was first put on the agenda, it was written as a denial, just like we have 3 denials on the agenda now. Those are letters we get from the chief. However, he writes the letter. I've been up here for 8.5 years. That's how it's been put on the agenda, a denial or an approval. It was pulled from the agenda because we were missing a council member, and it's been put back on, and not as a denial, the way the chief wrote it, but as an approval. I'm not going to politic too much more, but I know why it was changed, because it would fit the narrative of how I am perceived to vote. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing that really is troubling, and I have them here, there was an article and a letter to the Ocean Star on Friday, front page article about the Elks, letter in the Ocean Star. Now, we got our real agenda at 4:05 on Friday. The draft agenda is not supposed to be shared with the general public. It's a draft agenda. Again, today at 3:52, we had an email with additions to tonight's agenda. Things can be pulled, things can be changed. So my issue with that is, and there was also a social media post, is that is confidential information because it's still in the draft agenda, and we're not supposed to share that. So if we didn't get the regular agenda until 4:05 on Friday, and a letter to the Ocean Star and or an article typically has to be in by Wednesday night, who shared confidential information?
Well, let's answer that, because I just want to, we have a guest in the audience, and she could certainly speak to the record. Had I ever mentioned before you called me up before, or have we ever talked before you called me up about the article?
No, before we talk about that?
Yeah, before we talked about the article?
No.
Okay. This is a reporter who's pretty much on the record. She could say if there's something about she could say, I can't comment on it. Did you contact me unsolicited about the article? I don't need you to tell how you found out about it. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I just want, since the implication was that somebody did something nefarious, the press has the right to a refusal of talking to governing bodies, they have privacy, everything that she didn't have to say. I got a call out of the blue on Friday, and that's how this article transpired. Oh, well, I guess it was Wednesday, whenever you called me, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I want to go on the record.
That's on the record now.
We're not supposed to be sharing the draft agenda until the regular agenda comes out.
You can overrule all my emails, and you just heard from the board.
I don't know, I didn't say it was you specifically, Mayor. Yeah. And as far as the last comment I'll make, the mayor did say, yeah, I support the Elks. I've always supported the Elks. I've gone to your Oktoberfest. I run the race in the morning. I go get my lobster at 10 o'clock, a quick walk up and down Arnold Avenue, and then I go home. And then I bike back over around 1 o'clock. And you said maybe somebody can change. If someone can unequivocally and with certain proof tell me that the bulk of your money comes from people walking in from the seafood festival, then I'll be honest, I may change my vote. I've gone every year except the past 2 that we had, that you were around the corner. And I end up staying for 2 to 3 hours because I run into 300 to 400 people that are from the beach, borough, Bayhead, Manlow, and Brick, all locals that I know. I have a feeling in my heart, and I said it 3 years ago, it's more of a local event, not just casual walkers coming down Arnold Avenue saying, hey, you might get some of them, but all of your money is raised from locals. And we never kicked you out of town just on the same day. And from what I understand, I think there's an application in with Point Borough for the following weekend.
That is
Not
accurate.
Well, no, you'll get a chance. It's rhetorical. He's just being rhetorical. But I will,
Okay.
Councilman, I will actually agree with you on that, because I will say that the narrative all along has been that they can't have it, that the Elks can't have it the following week because they need the seafood festival and the numbers that brings. If for some reason that narrative is totally out of whack, you make a very, very good point. So I would ask, I'd agree with it. I'd ask somebody within the Elks to be able to try and talk to the percentage of people that come as a result of the seafood festival, percentage of people from out of town versus in town. I think that's a very fine point.
I don't know if we can get that number quantifiably, like you said. I'm done. That's me.
That was good, Councilman, I appreciate it.
Okay. So I appreciate the Elks coming in tonight, and I have a ton of respect for the Elks. Based on my 25 years of security experience, I do want to make sure to express some concerns I have. 2 years ago, when I ran for office, one of our campaign promises was to bring back the Elks Oktoberfest to take place on the same day as the Seafood Fest. Obviously, a lot has changed in the last 2 years. Coming out of the pandemic, our society is behaving differently, which is leading to civil unrest, disrespect towards authority, and anti-police movements. This is concerning to me as being a potential recipe for disaster for our small town of Point Pleasant Beach. For the last 25 years, I have worked in physical and cybersecurity. For the past 10 years, I have worked on a team responsible for maintaining the security of the electric grid, gas lines, and a nuclear power plant. I've conducted several site security surveys and worked hand in hand with law enforcement to further protect these assets. My point in telling you this is that besides Chief Michigan, I have the most safety and security experience of anyone sitting up here. For that reason, I value the Chief's professional recommendations and understand the reason for his denial. Adding in the Elks Oktoberfest on a day where the police department is already substantially outnumbered and spread thin would put a strain on the police department's resources and prevent them from protecting Point Pleasant Beach's citizens and visitors to the level they deserve. Besides the Seafood Fest, their other mission is to continue policing the increasingly challenged dynamics of the town, beaches, and boardwalk. I know how important the Elks are to this community, particularly how they give back to the charities they donate to. I do want them to succeed in all their events. In my good conscience, I don't believe we will be able to successfully accommodate the event on the same day as the Seafood Festival and concurrently keep our community safe and secure. I'm done.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. I kind of go off record a little bit. So first of all, I would like to say that I support our chief tremendously and our wonderful police department, and I believe in law and order. And just like the mayor has said, we have, supported you and everything, and I know you appreciate that. So I have the utmost respect for you and for your department. So I want to say that first. But listening to the reasons so far that everyone has brought up, I still don't understand it, especially after this holiday weekend on 4th of July, and it was shoulders to shoulder packed. The packed is probably most has ever been. And for some residents, they live up there. I'm sure they can get up there and speak tonight about it. It took 2 hours for people to get out of town. I was up there on a Sunday with mayor and council, and we saw it firsthand. And, I saw the police there. Was there, if something was to go down, would we had enough police that particular moment? I don't know. But they were up there. It was good to see them, and I appreciate them. So to say that we can't handle the Elks that day with the Seafood Festival, I find that hard to believe. That's my own personal opinion. When I moved to this town back in 2005, and I went to the Seafood Festival prior to moving here. I came from Elizabeth because I had heard about it. I never even knew the Elks was there until I moved to this town. And the neighbor said, "Oh, when you're here, come by the Elks." I'm like, "Where's the Elks?" They had to tell me. I had no idea it was pushed back there. So to say that people that are coming down that day are going to go to the Elks to have a burger and a hot dog and some draft beer when they have all these other beautiful restaurants and vendors, I find that hard to believe. I love the Seafood Festival. I respect Chamber, all the work. I was a PTO council president for many years. I was up at that Farmers Avenue, 4 o'clock, helping her set up, getting ready, doing parking. So I know what's involved with the Seafood Festival. I've been a very big part of that, and I respect that, and I love it. I think they do a wonderful job. The other thing I like to say is that, you know, to say that we're recommending a denial, and, you know, to say, well, the Seafood Festival could have it down the street, like, well, they can still have it, but they don't have it to have that at the Elks. They can go down 4 blocks, or they can have it another day. Why? Why should they have to? No, they shouldn't have to move. That's like telling you you've had a party for 25 years. But guess what? You can't have it anymore. You're going to take your grill, you're going to take your stuff, go set up, and then bring everything back. It's an inconvenience for them. They shouldn't have to do that. They have a beautiful space that they've had for years. I read the letter from the application, and in it said that you've never had any trouble. Nobody has come out there with any problem. All the time that I was there, it's children, it's families, and people that have graduated high school or colleges that come back. Like Councilman Cortez said, it's a reunion. People are there to have a nice time. So, and you're right, when I campaigned, and no disrespect to anybody, I'm not hired by the town borough, I'm not hired by the chief. I was elected by the residents of this town. And that's right, when I campaigned, I went to people, I knocked on their doors, and the majority of people were very upset, and they had said, if you are elected, would you bring back the Elks? Knowing that the recommendation to bring it back was denied. And I looked in their face, and I said yes, because I'm a woman of my word. And tonight, I proudly say yes to bring the Elks back tonight. And I just want to end with this. I respect every single person up here. Whatever way they choose to vote tonight, I respect that. That's what makes us so special and unique. I have been up on this council for a year, and we haven't agreed. We have voted all differently. Very, very, contentious votes up here. And I'm not going to be any different tonight. I say what I say, and that's how I'm voting tonight. And I thank you for being here, and I thank you, every single one of you, and Chief, for all you do for this town. God bless and Pleasant Beach.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Would anybody else like to speak on this?
Karen, did you want to speak?
No, I don't really have anything much to say, but I too have spoken to many, many constituents, and although there haven't been any terrible occurrences yet, there has always remained the what if, and most everybody that I've spoken to said it's always a good time to support your police department. We're happy with the way things are going. It's just, so I'm kind of in line with that's my, unless I'm convinced, to feel a different way. That's the way I feel about it.
All right, before I made some notes here. Mayor, you always talk about us trying to get along here. But you bring up my son's name, and then you make a comment about how
But it was a positive way. You always...
Regardless of that, you don't ever bring a family member's name into it. I don't care whether it's positive or negative, you don't bring their names into it. But I'm more offended by the comment about how I hate the Elks, and I'm going to talk about that here in particular.
If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
You are wrong for saying I hate the Elks. That's an insulting comment. You know darn well it
You
is.
have called me so many names. You've called me so many
The
names.
chief has stated again in your objection
I've never
to
called
this
you with your call.
to be held in the same, after what you said about me hating the Elks, you bet I feel that way. Chief has stated again his objection to this event to be held on the same day as the Seafood Festival. So is our fire inspector. I would hope that we would treat his objections with respect, and if he's our chief, we've hired him to do his job. While we're talking about the Elks, my term ends in January. It's my last chance to speak about this wonderful organization. It's a great organization with great people and you do great things. You have great hearts, and I respect the work that you do. With that said, leadership of any organization needs to lead with their hearts, with their business minds as well. Fundraising is important, and as someone who's done a ton of fundraising over the years for my time volunteering organizations, there were times when I would swallow my pride and let things happen I wasn't happy about if it helped the organization. I know, if you will, it's pretty well known that over the last 2 2 years the event was held in the park of the borough and been by far your most successful in decades. Isn't the money you raise the most important thing you do with fundraisers you do each year? Other than it's easier, why would you want to return to the people to make more money? Less money, excuse me. Now, as most of the social media posts have stated, it's a locals event, untied to the Seafood Festival. People come down to Point Pleasant Beach for the Seafood Festival aren't coming down for the Elks and aren't here for that. The locals go, not the out-of-towners. And having the park meant more locals go, and they don't have to fight for the Seafood Festival crowd. And I've heard that repeatedly from people. It was so much easier to go to your event when it was in the park. And this last part, I wasn't going to put it in, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because of what the mayor said about me. I want to tell you a story about how your anger denies you, so has cost you even more than as an organization. I belong to a private group that has had their annual dinner at the Elks for going 15 years. We love your facility. We love going to your facility. We love having it there. But 3 years ago, all of a sudden I went in and signed the paperwork, and the price tripled because it was me sitting there. Now, we could have made us think about it, hold the Ocean Star, made a big deal out of it. Instead of leadership, decided to make lemonade out of those lemons. We viewed it as an opportunity to look elsewhere, as we had never done that before, because it was easy to go to the Elks. We took our dinner from another fine organization and have had our best 3 years of fundraising to date. So if you cost yourself $4,000 a year in revenue and sent us to another venue, I'm asking you to do the same thing. Make lemonade out of those perceived lemons.
Councilman Wiggett, do you have anything to say? Okay, understood. We're going to open it up for public participation.
More comments, and I apologize. Just one other comment. A lot's been said about quantifiable data to back up my denial. Clearly, my job is to prevent any type of, major incident. So the fact that we haven't had one, I think, is a positive thing.
Of course.
And my denial is based on not wanting to have to handle one of these major incidents. So that is.
Of course, and
We've had the evacuation of the entire Seafood Festival and the Elks. We've had problems in the past at the Elks and the Seafood Festival. So to say that we've never had problems in the past.
And I appreciate that, Chief, tremendously. But I guess my point is here, we protect the boardwalk and we protect the 5K breast cancer run, which has thousands and thousands and thousands of people here into town. And we protect fireworks night, and we protect a whole host of other huge events, and every Tiki Monday that we have, and every big concert that we have, and everything along those lines. And I don't think as a governing body we should be voting and living in fear of the unknown and the unquantifiable. Yes, something horrible could happen at the Seafood Festival, but something horrible could happen here at a council meeting. Something horrible could happen on the boardwalk at any given time, despite all the chief's best efforts. We could hire 150 police officers, and somebody could do something horrible at the boardwalk on a Labor Day weekend. We could spend all the resources in the world, and something could happen at the Tiki Bar on a Monday. This fear of the unknown, this fear of something that is unquantifiable, should not be a reason to do away with a cherished locals event. And I have yet to hear a compromise still from the governing body. And again, I'm also going to ask Eileen for us to pull out the wine approval, and I'm going to have that voted on separately right after this, so that everybody up here, when they vote, you'll be voting to remove the Elks and to remove the wine garden, in short order, to make sure that everything matches up, with the standpoint, because obviously there's no logical reason to have the wine garden and to have the Elks at the same time. And that would really be a shame for our Chamber of Commerce to not have the wine garden. I think that's a great event, just like I think that having the Elks is a great event. But I appreciate everybody's comments up here. I think, everything needs to be said, and I'd like to open it up for public participation. Everybody, just please state your name and address, and
Residents and taxpayers.
Tom, I need to say you didn't want to speak.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay, come on up.
Residents and taxpayers first.
If you could please speak into the microphone also.
President for taxpayers first. How's it going?
Joan Smoot, 123 Boardwalk. I bought my house in 1984. I am a full-time resident as of 2003, and I have a few questions. So anybody can put an application to be in the Seafood Fest?
With the Chamber of Commerce, correct, not through us, we don't run it.
North Jersey?
Correct.
Out of town?
Correct, anybody, and most of the vendors are from out of town.
Okay. So we don't give any preference to the businesses that are in town?
Well, again, it's the chamber.
The Chamber.
The chamber's decision, has nothing to do with us.
So, but the police you have to approve each?
Overall, we approve the event. We actually do not approve the individual foods.
The denial, they all have to put an application in?
The wine garden is so big that it warrants its own separate application because it also has an alcohol component as well. But we approve the seafood festival at large and the layout at large and the confines of that particular year.
Okay, so the elks were denied because they were too big? It was too far? I don't really understand.
The memo that we received from the chief, and he can.
And I understand that that's his job. But, okay, I live on the boardwalk, so in today's climate, we all are making sacrifices. My grandchildren come, we go to the beach after dinner, if we want to play ball on the beach, we can't do that. And I explained to them, we have to close the beach, and that's the rule, and that's what I do. I personally don't go to the Seafood Fest. I went once, it was crowded, I got on the end of the line, I waited an hour, we got up to the line, it was totally wrong. Okay, I don't, so I don't go, but I can't leave town, because I can't come home. I can't go to Brick, I can't go over the bridge.
Right.
So as a resident, if we're really concerned, and we all are making sacrifices, do we really want 60,000 people coming on that day? Do we really want to take that risk?
So your objection is to the seafood festival, not the...
No, my objection is, I don't really understand, how they are a tipping point. They're too many, or they're too far, or, I don't really understand that. So if the concern is, and I hear you, because I'm on the boardwalk, and my children do nothing but ask me to sell my house, and am I gonna board up? They wanted to know what Saturday I was gonna go. I said, I'm not boarding up, I live there. And I'm gonna sit outside. And if there's an issue, then I'm gonna call the police. But I'm not gonna, board up my house and go home, to their house in Middletown on 4th of July. So if the concern is that in this time, and in all this nonsense that is going on everywhere, I support the police. I supported the Monmouth County Police Academy for 20 years. So, that's not the issue. The issue is you're going to tell them no, but you're going to have beer and wine sold. Aren't we concerned about the amount of alcohol? I don't drink. I'm getting high in my house because the house next door, they smoke all night long. So, I just don't understand that. I don't understand how you reconcile that.
And I'll make a comment, and Chief, please back me up. I think the police department has the Seafood Fest pretty well secure with the resources they have, right? So that's, the way I look at it, that's one mission of theirs, right?
Okay.
The beach, the boardwalk, the rest of town is mission number 2, right?
Right.
So they're spread thin. We talked about everything that's going on. To add another component, how big or small it is doesn't matter. It's still another component that they have to deal with.
Is it because it's not in the center of town?
It's just added. It doesn't matter. It's just added on, and it's more officers they have to patrol there. It's more officers, and if the else gets other security officers, they still have to coordinate with the chief. Because God forbid something happens, he's got to make sure that it's being handled.
So they're not at the site of the Seafood Fest?
They're at the end of the Seafood Fest.
They're at the end
Correct.
of the Seafood Fest. So if they had a tent, Joe Leone has a tent?
I defer to the
Area?
chief.
We have several police officers working the Seafood Festival, as well as we have several police officers working the boardwalk, patrolling through town. We also, as I stated in my comments, we bring additional resources in from New Jersey State Police, Ocean County Sheriff's Department, Prosecutor's Office, Homeland Security. We've already depleted all of our mutual aid resources in here. So I understand what you're saying. The Elks is certainly not to the large scale of the Seafood Festival event.
Right.
The point is, we're already depleted at that point after the Seafood Festival, and to take on another event, I have safety and security concerns with that. So that's what I'm saying.
But if they were in a tent, like Joey Leone has his tent set up, wherever you set up, like I said, I don't go to the Seafood Fest. On Arnold Avenue, is it because they're off the location of the main?
Their event is a lot larger than a tent.
Okay.
And the other thing that I want to point out is, I mentioned it already once already, but I want to mention it again, that the fire inspector has also said it's almost impossible for him to be able to do both events at the same time and be able to watch both at the same time. It's not just our chief of police, it's the fire inspector as well.
And I confirm that because I spoke with him this morning too.
Keep in mind, it's a fully outdoor event for fire purposes,
Okay.
fully outdoor. So,
Right.
I'm just telling you my concerns as a resident.
And I have one thing to say too, when does the, Elks, the Seafood Festival typically ends at what time? 7? That's when it shut down? And I remember when they did have the bomb threat, I was at, our friend's front porch right there. I go up there every year, we're invited. So as soon as, like, even before 7 o'clock, I would say about 6, you can see people, like 7 o'clock, it's pretty much cleared out, except people that are waiting for the kettle of corn because, you know, it's so delicious. There's still a line there. But pretty much by 7, I mean, it's pretty cleared out. I mean, people already, like, CPW's on it, they're cleaning up. Still goes on, correct? For a little bit longer? So it's not like, you know, we're overwhelmed at that time either. There's people there on the street, right? So, that's another point to bring up. And again, you know, I understand what Councilman Vitale is saying, but I've been there at the Elks, and I don't really, and I'm not saying, I don't see like police patrolling back there. And honestly, you don't even know it's really back there because, like you mentioned, it's the ponies all the way down over there. There's vendors right on their grass. When you walk by, I'm telling you, you don't even know it's there unless someone tells you that.
and
So they have like a police officer by the ponies and over there, and they're kind of like eyeing that up. So if something happens, which again, I don't think anything major has happened over there. So, just my 2 cents.
When we did have the security, when we did have the Elks part of the Seafood Festival, they did hire our police officers. We had 68 officers, six officers assigned to that location throughout the day.
I wish we had them here, Chief, because every year we walk them through and we show them exactly, we get them to know us and who we are, and we get them to know the facility and what's going on. I wish they were here. They do a fabulous job.
Thank you. There were also, a lot of them are seasonal officers. We don't keep them that long either.
So were you willing to get officers? Were you willing to get security?
Anybody else from Pleasant Beach, any other residents or taxpayers want to speak first?
I'm gonna be quick tonight.
Okay.
No intention to speak, but I'm just so
That's
bored.
fine. Just trying to help.
My name is Ellen Becker, and I live on East Hamlet.
Okay, I'm sorry, please, your name again?
Ellen Becker, C-E-P-O-R-E-K. And I live on East Hamlet. Chief, Mayor, Council, I really do wish that there was a relationship a little bit more between us and you, so that you knew where we're coming from and what we do. A lot of us are retired, a lot of us are still working. We get up on a Monday morning and we decide what we're going to do and how we're going to volunteer to raise more money for our town. And you have been in my company where we have done grants, and we do that every year, and we raise thousands and thousands of dollars for St. Gregory's, for St. Mary's People, on and on and on. For scholarships, we take the kids on the drug awareness program. I wish that you would understand that Seafood Festival, if you could just maybe cut back a component or a couple of people who would normally come down here to make money to put in their own pockets and leave something open for us who are your people in your town, who voted for you folks, who raise money. Don't take it done. We don't need it. We just do it for our children, for our vets. If you could make an exception where cut back on the we're just here to raise money for kids. Do you know what we do for special needs kids in this town? And you shun us, and you're gonna let people come from all over. I just don't get it. And I love this town, and it hurts me that you don't know us well enough. We have 600 members. We probably have 200 people that all they do is fundraise. I could come up, and I'm sure the two folks that are going to speak to you have numbers, and we're talking about numbers and quantifiable information. But please just know that there's a lot of us that we've probably helped. Your son, your relatives, I know some of you. Just please be open-minded and think about it. Please, if it means cutting back on the other numbers, if it means that you say you have somebody at that front door, you count those people and you stop at this number. Well, we know what the numbers are because we have to feed these people, and every single hour we know how many are passing through. That's me at the front door. I don't ever remember you. But I will say, speak to those folks that you sent our way that we hired. They were fabulous, and they helped secure with them, and they think they helped secure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And that's concerning to me as well. I mean, we could very easily, anybody up here could make a motion at any given time to say, they'd like to move the Elks Festival for approval with a cap of no more than 400 people in the festival at any given time. I mean, any member of the dais has the ability to do that. I mean, you can listen, but then you can also act, right? Go ahead, Mr. Beck.
Dave Petton, 400 New Jersey Avenue, Point Pleasant Beach. I've been a local guy my entire life. My grandmother lived at 608 New Jersey. It's where my mother was raised. I'm local now for about a year and a half. But to that point, that Elks function has gone on forever. I don't ever remember a major incident there that would make us want to stop it. I don't understand why it stopped in the first place, so that wasn't part of the business back then, was paying attention. But they're also willing to pay for officers, whether they're your officers or other city officers that are available from other departments, such as the ones working at Martell's or Jenkinson's or wherever. I'm sure they'd also be able to, or be willing to hire a fire inspector, possibly from another town for a side job.
Very good point.
Which, could offset that component.
Very good
concern. I just think that there's got to be a way to make the chief happy, make him feel like the town's going to be secure, and to make everybody else's concerns, valid concerns, I'll give you all that, but find a way to make this event, which has been going on forever until recently, to get it back on track. I just think there's a will, there's a way, and there's a lot of things out there to make that happen.
Great point. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Mayor, one more point.
Oh, hold on,
Just one more point.
Okay.
Some of us are CPR, first aid, bloodborne, oxygen, defibrillator certified. So, plus we also have a facility upstairs if God forbid something happens, that you have to go to people into.
And again, at any given point,
Anybody up here could make a motion and say, we require that you guys hire a part-time fire marshal. We require that you guys have X number of guards. We require that you have X number of people trained in CPR. It's very easy. Any member of the dais can make a motion like that at any time they like. Go ahead, Stan.
Stan John, 502 Chicago Avenue. I'd just like to say that I agree with this woman 100%. The thing is that when you're turning down the Elks Club, you're turning down support of the veterans, Boy Scouts, homeless people. I've been an Eagle Scout was the thing. An Elks for over 15 years, and they do a lot for the town. Scholarships, I don't know how many people in this town are involved with them, but they do give scholarships to your children, and for myself, for grandchildren. So, the thing is that there were so many people this weekend. I mean, I stood on my porch, and it was almost 2 hours for people to exit this town. Most of the people in town, we all have a sign, a lot of us, I have one, where we support the police. And it will never come to a point, I don't believe, in this town, where if it got to a point where the police were overtaken by any group of people coming into this town, I think that you have enough citizens in this town to support the police. And we'll be there for you. I will, for sure.
thank you very much.
Stan, one question.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not trying to be a wise man.
I know.
Just explain to me how the vets get tied into this. How are we hurting the vets by?
Well, because it's their fundraising.
Oh, so their fundraising goes for vets. Okay, that's what I was trying to clarify.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
thanks.
fundraising, I mean, it's a non-profit organization.
Well, do they do veterans and children with disabled?
They do, they do disabled children,
Fair enough.
I mean, and that's really who you're turning down. When you really think about it, you get the elks in the sense, but it's what the organization actually does. I mean, that's how I feel.
Can we ask you, the difference in the fundraising ability? Is it that different from moving to the park that it is from the Arnold Avenue site?
Well,
Well, and they, just, Stan, just real quick, they may want to give an official answer on this, as a result of the Elks.
our treasurer,
I think you might want to let them answer.
okay, our treasurer.
The treasurer, I don't know, Stan, if you got all the numbers in your phone, you pull it out. But, Anne Marie, would you come up and?
Sorry, Mike.
That's fine, but if you could also answer, or if your speech will.
Question. Oh, Anne Marie O'Hare. Old question, capital H-A-R-E, 2103 Francis Avenue, 27 Road. Thank you. As to the fundraising, if we go up the street, there are two significant components to answer that question. The first is, it is logistically, it is a lot more work. You're not talking about young kids that are hustling with equipment up the street. So from a logistical standpoint, it's very difficult. From a dollar standpoint, we absolutely, although I'm not sure why it's part of this conversation, I would absolutely tell you that we make less money, and I can show that to you, except our books are closed. But I can tell you absolutely without fail that we make less money going up the street.
We take your word for it. We take your word for it.
Okay. So, I'm the treasurer of the Point Pleasant Elks. And first, we want to thank the mayor for his consistent unwavering support of us, and specifically to bring back what we now call Elks Fest, formerly known as Oktoberfest, and let us come back home again. I didn't come here today to tell you about all the great things that the Elks does. I think you all know that. We didn't come here to start an argument. We didn't come here to start a debate. We came here to open up a dialogue. We wanted to have, all we want is a conversation about our application for the Social Affairs Committee for our Elks Fest on the same day as the season. Before coming here today, I too went back and looked at council minutes, and I looked at articles that were in the Ocean Star that were all related to this topic. Chief Michigan often spoke about terrorism, bomb threats, security, and public safety. Key words that can and likely do intimidate us, make us afraid. This may and does lead to submission by fear. Decisions should be based on facts. They should not be based on hypotheticals. They should be based on provable facts and evidence. So I want to give you a few facts. On September 17, 2016, when we were told to shut down due to a bomb threat, we did so immediately, without question, following every instruction we were given to the letter, and we cleared our parking lots as quickly as possible. There were no issues at the Elks Fest. The following year, on September 16, 2017, we held our Oktoberfest on the same day as the Seafood Festival, again, without any incident. In all the years that the Oktoberfest has been held on that day as the Seafood Festival, there's never been an issue or an incident. At the February 19, 2019 council meeting, when I questioned about expanding the footprint of the Seafood Festival, Chief Michigan stated that expanding the footprint would make it much safer. At the council meeting on May 21st, 2019, when our permit was once again denied, Chief Michigan stated his job is to assess risk and to make choices accordingly. At the same time, former Councilman Vogel acknowledged they didn't have a threat acknowledgement. The council did not have a threat analysis. To this date, we have not seen any proofs, documentation, or statistical data to show that by holding our Elks Fest on the same day as the Seafood Festival creates such a greater risk. This year, after we did not hear from Police Chief Michigan, he did not reach out to us about his decision to deny our application for their, or recommend denial of our application for the social affairs permit. There was no discussion about how some changes could be made, compromises, or options such as bringing in off-duty police officers, because we've offered to do that in the past. Rather, he simply said no. We have great respect for Chief Michigan and how difficult his job must be. To address Councilman Cortez's question about locals versus non-locals, I couldn't even begin to tell you, okay? But I also couldn't tell you how many people on the street are locals versus non-locals. So if we're holding that, if that's the standard, that standard should be throughout. The people who come to we simply can't understand what it is that if a police department can handle 50,000 people on the street that consists of locals and outsiders, see, why can't they handle a couple of hundred people in the Elks? We don't bring 50,000 people to the street. People come to the Elks because they're at the seafood festival, not the other way around. And they come to the Elks because that's where they can get rested. That's where families can come to get away from the crowds on the street, take a moment, sit down, have a drink, whatever it is that they're choosing to do. Point Pleasant Elks is a large part of the history of this town and the seafood festival. Point Pleasant Beach is our home. We did not come here today to beg you to approve our application for our social affairs permit. We came here to respectfully ask you to make your decisions based on facts. Don't base them on fear. Don't base them on politics. Don't base them on social media. It's time for this administration to let the Point Pleasant Elks come back.
Great speech. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I have a question. What's your biggest fundraiser?
Historically, it has been the Elks Fest second to the Fluke.
Okay.
So, Fluke is first.
No. The Fluke is second.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's always been Oktoberfest and then Fluke, and the difference is rather significant.
And for somebody who says, I hate the Elks, I enter your food contest every year.
I beg your pardon?
I enter your food contest every year.
I understand that.
Thank you.
I understand that.
Thank you.
Hey, can you explain that?
Hey, well, I had one question.
Fish on my shirt.
Okay. To Councilman Cortez's point earlier, is there anybody at the Elks that can speak to the percentage of people at the Elks? Now, the way I understand it, the way that I understand it is, and watching the group that came 2 years ago, the Elks are kind of like a fraternity in terms of like a brotherhood and a sisterhood of lodges from all over the area. So the way that I saw it, see it, and everything like that, based on also who turned up and the people that spoke last time, and I know I asked you to kind of keep the numbers down this time, but it seems like the percentage of people that come from out of town are high, but are basically all Elks and supporters of Elks from across the state and the region as opposed to, give us an idea of that breakdown, because it's not just locals, right? Or can somebody speak to that, or those numbers versus how many people are
I
from
can tell you that I can't tell you definitively how many people are Elks or how many people are not. I can tell you when they're come down to our parties, they have to sign in and et cetera.
Okay.
But because we had a social affairs permit, we can't quantify that.
Okay.
But again, I would say to you, is there anybody here tonight that can quantify that on the street?
Right, I agree,
Okay.
that's a very good counterpoint.
So if you can't quantify it on the
Yep.
street, and people aren't coming to the Elks and then going to the seafood festival. It is absolutely 100% of the other way around.
So they're not coming to the Elks to have a beer and then go buy handmade soap?
No, I think they might get soda.
Okay, all right, just check.
Or they might go up the street and have
Just check.
wine someplace else or whatever.
Thank you very much, Anyway, that's a very good job. Chief?
One quick thing. The reason I did not reach out to you, myself and the mayor, admittedly, I've had several conversations about this. I know he was in contact with you as well, so certainly it wasn't because I'm trying to be rude or disrespectful to you and not reaching out to you to sit down with me. We met a few years ago and spoke about my position where they haven't changed in those couple of years. I believe that was how you paid too, so, if you feel like I disrespected you by not reaching out to the town, I apologize. I had no intention of.
I can say, the statement wasn't because I believe you disrespected us. I do, however, feel that you didn't give us an opportunity, and I believe all the elks that are here tonight and all the elks back at our lodge, or who are members of our lodge, feel that you didn't accord us an opportunity to give you other options, or to have a discussion, or to maybe make some compromises. I know, because you acknowledged on the record, actually, that you met with the Chamber of Commerce when they were going to expand the footprint of the seafood festival, that you worked with the Chamber of Commerce. We didn't, but you don't give us that same courtesy.
The decision to actually expand was the Chamber's mind, to make it less crowded. So it's my idea to move to that more.
Okay, and I'm not suggesting it wasn't. What I'm stating is, you work with them, but you don't work with us.
I just have a question too. Can you tell us a little bit about the event that's scheduled for the weekend after the Seafood Fest? Apparently there's an event that's scheduled afterwards? No?
No, I had mentioned that earlier. I had heard through the grapevine that you had applied to Point Pearl for around the corner in the park the weekend following the season.
Okay,
I don't know.
again, I'm the treasurer of the Elks, so if we apply for licenses, I would know about it because I would be writing the check. Okay, so
It doesn't make any sense for you to move around the corner a week later. If you were to do it a week later, you would do it in your backyard.
Correct.
Which we all would
So
vote
we got
for.
permit.
Which we all would vote for.
Okay. Thank you.
But that's it.
And how much money would you stand to lose if this council votes down the application today from that event?
To have it on that, yes.
To have it on that day, how much money would you bring in if you're able to have your
And
event?
remember, you told us you can't also do your votes.
I really can't.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, never mind, sorry, you're right.
That's not appropriate for me to say that, because
That's fine.
if you're a part-carrying
None of
member,
our
here's what I will tell you, if you're a part-carrying member of the Elks Lodge, okay, that information would be available to you, because I give a financial
Okay.
report at every meeting, but it's not appropriate.
Is it in the tens of thousands?
Again,
All right, okay, fair enough.
What I can
there.
tell you is it does have a significant impact on the finances of the lodge.
That's good enough. Thank you. Please.
Mayor, Council, Chief, those assembled on the dais.
Name and address.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, name and address now.
I'm sorry?
Name and address.
Oh, name is John Befrick, on 341 East Ham Road, East West. We want numbers on our attendance. I can give you some rough numbers. Because one of the things that I did when in regular work, I worked as an engineer for time motion studies, and I was very sensitive to the amount of people, where they came from, what they were doing at any one time, for me to be able to assess the situations, what was going on. And I worked for them for 42 years. And I can tell you from my experience, 38 years at the lodge, you have about 15% elks. You have about 65% locals who know that they enjoy coming, sitting under a tent. There's porta potties. We give them free cold water. They can sit there with their children. They don't have to worry about jamming up outside in Arnold Avenue, and they feel like they're still part of the Seafood Festival, but they're enjoying it at a different level. We had 18 porta potties set up just for the folks that would come onto our property, and I think that there's even probably some people in this room that if they went to the Seafood Festival and you had to go to a comfort station, sometimes it wasn't the best situation. Okay, that's why that was always running. They were moving them all around, but the elks could always be counted on for having comfort stations and fresh water for the kids coming up and diaper stations. So we were taking care of that 65% that really enjoyed coming out because they lived here and didn't have to get caught up in the craziness of some of the things that were happening on 11. 20% were people that would come in from outside. They would just drift because, again, yes, we're up by the ponies. We're not in the middle of this situation. So we were kind of an anomaly that the town really enjoyed. having said that, that is still our best fundraiser. And the Elks, for the last, we've been here for 75 years. It's a 75th anniversary. In the last 27 years, we have given back to the Point Pleasant area $20.4 million in money and services. Now, in addition, when the pandemic was here and people weren't leaving their houses, the Elks stayed relevant in Point Pleasant Beach and Borough. We donated over $18,000 to the local food banks. We gave 3.5 tons of food to St. Gregory's when people were staying home. But we still came out, we opened up our doors, and we made sure that we could help those that needed help. After all, what do Elks do? We help those that need help. Our seafood festival allows us to make money to help those that need help. We have a very different business model, folks. Our business model is all about making as much money as we can to give it back to you. The vendors come down, they go all over the streets, and they fill their pockets, and they go home. Not us. We stay here, and we give the money back to you. That's what we do. That's Elks. So, like my dad told me, he said, never speak about something you haven't deserved the right to speak about. And it's something that I have kind of, I guess, earned the right to speak about, and that's the dispersion of the number of people at that event during that day. I don't know how many of you have seen this graph. I told you what I did professionally as an engineer for public service. We never exceed, we probably don't exceed, maybe like 450 between 2 and 5 o'clock or 2 and 4 o'clock on that day. It's because the people were getting hot, they're looking for something else to do, and we finally get that many people, okay? During that period of time, but the whole thing, from 11 o'clock all the way until 7 or 8 o'clock, we had, I think, 6 officers from the chief. We had 5 of our own security, which half were police. We have a lot of police from other towns that are actually in our lodge, okay? We had a total of 11 people on security on that day, and when we peaked out at 450, that's like 1 cop for every 40 people. The chief wishes he had a ratio like that. So we don't have that, we don't have incidents. We don't have occurrences. Because we are very conscious of being good neighbors to where we live.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Since, you're data-driven and these are facts and these are numbers.
Right.
Would you be willing to accept if somebody on the council made a motion to approve the permit with a statement that the Elks has to have a minimum of 11 security personnel, 1 part-time fire marshal, and keep the capacity to 450 people at any given time? Would you be willing to accept that?
I cannot speak, I cannot speak for a lodge of 600 people. What I can do is bring a motion like that back to the floor and ask, because there is a cost to that, and the question becomes, how many people do you really need to and I would even counsel with the chief. How many people would he feel comfortable with? Say, listen, they got enough people up there now. I feel good. I'll give them the credentials of all the police that we're going to hire. Most of them are from the borough, or they're from Britain, that are part of our lodge.
And then, if we have 50,000 people in town on that day, and you guys have 450 at any given time, that would constitute less than 1% of the tourists from out of town at the Elks Lodge, right?
Exactly.
So 1% of the town to keep 1% of the tourists in town that day to keep a tradition going. I think that's some pretty sound data right there.
Well, I think when we want to talk from facts, I think that you got it. I think we see that the relative amount of people for protection, the number of police for people that on the property, I think that's a measure. Whenever you're going to make decisions, you have to do the measurement equally across the whole board. And quite frankly, I think that part of this whole situation, going back to past administrations, there was a bad situation when Chief O'Hare said there was only going to be one beer permit allowed in the town during the seafood festival. And I know that the chamber was extremely upset about that because they wanted to have the ability to have a beer garden. That's when we had our mayor come and bring the Elks together and said, can you change your date because the council kind of wants that they can get the beer permit. And that's kind of where it started, but I don't want to go into that anymore.
I think the facts speak for themselves at this point.
But the
facts are, and I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Okay.
You said that 15%, roughly, you're giving, fact number, 15% were out, 65% locals. I had that's 80%. So 80%
from outside.
Now that kind of ties in with my personal experience of going there. I see 80% of people I know from, I grew up my whole life here. My daughters went to the school in Carl. I know everybody. Do you think that 80% would still show up on a different weekend, on a different day?
No.
No, when you would be the only party in town, I hate to say party, but gathering in town.
People go out to have fun, to go and take a look at some of the things that, the different events. But it's like a place to come home to and know that they can sit and relax.
But I'm just saying, 65% locals, 15% elk, so 80% of the people.
I think
I would show up.
I think they would.
I would show up on a different day.
But even if they do show up, even if they do show up, that's 20%. Do you want to donate 20% of your salary to the Elks if it's just a small amount?
Hey, I'm a small business owner. I get my 20%.
But I'm just saying, my own town, my own area. Because hey, we're going to go to the festival today. We'll see you back at the tent, maybe if we can. If we walk the canoe, or something like that. And you have the locals that know about the Elks, they come and they support us, and it gives us the best revenue that we can get all year long. And just as another thing, but you folks probably don't know, but Point Pleasant Elks has just also gotten into helping veterans that are homeless. Now, I don't know if you know a homeless vet. I don't know if you ever met a homeless vet. We not only have male, but now we got female homeless vets. In the last 20 months, Point Pleasant Lodge has helped other lodges house 1,200 people that were living under bridges and were homeless. You want to know what the vets program is about at Point Pleasant? We go to the bowels of where the problems are. And we just went out and tried to get more grants to be able to even get more stuff to our lodge so we can give it to some of the people that are homeless. So it's a passion with us.
And I hate to do this, but you're over 5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
And you made your point. I like people that
But
end strong. I like them to end strongly. Great job.
I'd just like to comment real quick too, when you talk about moving the event on a different day. Just like in the thing, like again, I was on the PTO, and we would have our cook store. And I remember when Sandy hit, we couldn't have it that day. We lost a lot of money. And then this year with the pandemic, we had it, but we had to change the whole dynamic of it. It wasn't the same way. And they didn't bring in nearly as much money. So I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, sure, you can move it. Yeah, you could, but you're not going to bring in the money that you need for all the wonderful things that you do. So I understand your point.
Anne Marie, go ahead.
Okay. When John said to you that we had 80,000 people, when John said we had, 80%, or you did the math and said, okay, okay. Again, I asked you, I would have to venture to guess that at least 50% or more of the people on the street are local people. When I say local, I mean Point Pleasant Beach, Point Pleasant Borough, the surrounding communities. So, I have to reiterate that they come to the Elks because they're at the festival, it's not the other way around. We're not drawing 50,000 people to the street. That's not who we are, that's not what we do. They come to us for their respite. You know, they come to us to get a break. So, yes, we might have those percentages I don't do that work, but they may or may not be correct. Right. But at the end of the day, my guess is it's the same on the street.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Mayor, can I ask for a quick break to reconvene with Chief Michigan?
Sure.
And
I'd be
then
happy to
Okay.
connect. You're doing it.
With the motion?
Need a vote, Pete?
Yes.
Okay, so is there a motion to take a 5-minute break?
Mr. Mayor, can I say?
But I'd like the motion, hold on, please. If there's a motion to take a 5-minute break, we'll all be convening with the chief?
I would like just certain members, I mean, I don't know how does it work, do we all have to convene?
I would need that.
You all convene.
I don't think it
So-
can.
I don't think you can all
Okay.
convene.
But we're all, I'd like to have Andy and Bob.
What's that?
Can we convene?
That's fine with us. Anybody want to vote on that?
Is that a motion?
Is there a motion for those three?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so that means no public comment right now, we're on break.
Okay, I want to say, all right.
I
am. My daughter and my wife should be back for bed tonight, but I got it at home, and we'll be moving. Make our adventures down. You know, as soon as we get back to Maryland, we'll be home free.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Let Karen throw it out.
How you doing?
I have a light.
Well, I might pretend that
Right. Now, what?
So I'd like to.
That drives me crazy. When I.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, going down the street and
Well, no.
Oh, did you have some?
You picked the fun one, Pete. One of your other towns are like this, right? They're like, hey, is there consent? You gotta move the whole damn thing in 10 minutes. All right, we're all out, right?
Yes. That's
You're on the other side of the day, general. Like the record show. Yes. Keep in mind, you might get hot at all times. Yeah. Well, they ought to show how many different CSIs have been made or Law and Orders, right? You know, rehash the same TV shows. So it's not good to give us one.
How can we make it right? That's all, and that's how we
You want some of it?
Things like M&L, and I did work. Not the first year, I went the first year and tried them.
That's great.
I worked the day before, and we.
I know it.
Do you need more power?
Eileen would be good, right? Okay. I guess I'm using my gavel. We're back out at session.
I want to make a motion. All right, hang on, everybody. I want to make a motion to hold this off the agenda, pull it from the agenda for now. Pending meeting between the chief, Chamber of Commerce, and 3 members of the governing body to see if we can negotiate a compromise.
Which, well, hold on, wait, which 3 you have to clarify, not quantify, clarify which 3 members of the
No
governing
problem.
body.
It's going to be Andy, Doug, and Karen.
And the chief, Andy, does Karen as well?
And somebody from the Chamber of Commerce, probably Karen. So that's my
Well,
motion.
hold
We
on.
got a motion on the floor.
There's a motion on the floor, but we as the governing body can talk about it, they can't talk about it, right?
There should be a second before you talk.
Yeah, let me just make sure I have this correct. So
No,
the
that's what you're here for.
The motion to hold 1W, pending meeting between the chief, council members Cortez, Burns, Vitale, and the member of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, a representative from the Chamber of Commerce.
I'll second.
And the Elks too, and the Elks too.
Oh, yeah, the Elks too, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. And somebody from the Elks. I'm sorry, I was trying to do it right. I forgot about it for a second. And after all, I hate you guys, right?
Councilman Megan. Councilman Megan.
Good.
How do you feel about that?
Well, are we voting?
No, not voting.
He's asking how you feel about it.
Well, I feel great about it.
Council President?
Well, am I allowed to ask them how they feel about that? How do you feel about that? I want to hear your opinion.
If you guys don't mind, I'm just.
Am I allowed to ask that?
It's really
We
just
would
really.
welcome an opportunity,
It's really the council.
because this is what we've asked for all along.
Sorry, I didn't know I could ask that.
Yeah, it's just.
Okay, then fine, there's a motion, we have to vote on it.
Andy, did you make a second?
Yes, I did.
Councilman Vitale?
Yes.
Councilman Jepson?
No.
Councilwoman Byrne?
Yes.
Councilman Cortez?
Yes.
Councilman Santinelli?
Yes.
Councilman Dominguez?
Yes.
Well, then I would ask the council then too, if there's a motion to table the wine.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion,
Yep.
like the mayor wanted, what number is that?
That's a new one.
It's a new one, it's 2M. M is a Mary, or N is a number?
And it's in there.
I wanna carve out 2M,
Carve out.
separate,
Carve out, not hold it.
carve out, so for some discussion.
For discussion?
Yeah, well, so we can,
You mean, discussion would be, we're talking about tonight, holding it would be for next time, under the same auspices of the other.
yeah, you know what,
Hold it in.
well, yeah, I'll make a motion to hold 2M for the same discussion meeting.
And I'll second that.
I want to carve out.
For the same discussion between the same people?
Correct. That'll be part of the conversation.
There's a motion, it's gotta be a vote.
Yes.
Councilman Cortez?
Yes.
Councilman Santinelli?
Yes.
Councilman Dominguez?
Yes.
And I hope this goes without saying, but I would like to ask everybody who was basically just appointed to this by the governing body, that this not be, just an exercise in showmanship, that this is, negotiated
Guarantee
in
you
good
it's not.
faith.
Guarantee you it's not. Okay, so we talked about in the back here, but I guarantee you this will be an open,
Okay.
honest conversation.
Done.
And I made a point of not being on this group because of the words that we had before, and because it's my last year too, so it should be people that I can continue on.
Okay.
Like Andy, like Doug, like Karen.
Fair enough.
And, I wanted to be part of it. What I said earlier on, numbers, I said it's gonna be in the minutes, I would consider, changing, my stance. I know that we can't quantify certain numbers, somewhat rhetorical, but I know from my history, but yeah, this is gonna be open and honest.
All right, fair enough, then we're done. Now we're going into, the mayor's report is going to be 30 seconds.
Now, if you guys, if you guys don't want to stay as we go through the rest of this business, don't feel obligated.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to be part of it. We'll make sure that was part of the
My question was, somebody's gonna reach out to us and give us.
Wait, you tell Andy who we should reach out to.
Somebody reach out to me.
Okay, name and phone number, so we have.
My name is Anne Marie, and my phone number is 732-278-9421. It's John, if you're unable to reach me, please reach John Deppert.
908-910.
Okay.
9363.
And the borough
Are you close to Easton?
clerk.
From Easton?
I beg
Are
your
you close
pardon?
to Easton? Eastham, whatever it's called, are you close to Easton?
I'm Easton.
Okay. You know, Jack and Betty Russell? You know Jack and Betty Russell is at the meetings? Jack and Betty Russell, they're on, it's right around the corner from you. No?
And how many representatives?
I just get my invoice, that's all I'm wondering. They live right by you.
Bring this up, you should have an equal number.
Yeah, okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good night, everybody, thanks for coming.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, this is the quickest, this is the quickest mayor's report we're ever gonna have. It is shocking, and that's warranted. Okay, just a couple updates from the Chamber of Commerce. Downtown Bingo winner was chosen. She received a $500 Chamber gift card. They're gonna be doing another round of bingo in the fall. The next ladies' night is July 8th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. The last one was rained out. The beach party with the Arts Committee is 7/22. The August 1st Friday theme is Then and Now, sponsored by the Senior Committee. The Fluke Tournament is August 28th. Registration will begin soon on the Chamber website. And the Seafood Festival still has vendor spots open. The application is on the website. And that's it from the mayor's seat.
All right, I'm at 35.777.
Almost got it, all right.
All right, so I'll start with the chief's report. I would like to take this opportunity to offer my observations from this past holiday weekend and the social media threats of 2 back-to-back pop-up beach parties that could have potentially drew rowdy crowds in excess of 10,000 people. Once we learned of these planned events, my command staff began to develop an operational plan, and I called upon several resources to facilitate these events. We had assets from the State Police, New Jersey State Police, Ocean County Sheriff's Department, Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, New Jersey Department of Corrections, New Jersey Department of Homeland Security, New Jersey Transit Police, and the FBI. We showed up the masses to combat the threat of the masses. I am pleased to report that the message we conveyed was clear. Don't come to Point Pleasant Beach. We had minimal problems and received extensive praise and gratitude from residents, visitors, and business owners. My entire police department displayed an exceptional level of professionalism, and I am extremely proud to be the chief of this department. Our commitment and goal to keep Point Pleasant Beach a family town was on full display during this time. It truly was a team effort. We will continue to monitor social media and the influx of crowds throughout the summer to ensure that we remain the great family destination Point Pleasant Beach is known for. Over the past few weeks, the police department has faced a few major incidents, which have been immediately addressed and handled. What we are primarily seeing on the boardwalk in 2020 are families. Families from all over are coming to Point Pleasant Beach to enjoy this town, and the number of disrespectful people from last year seems to be on the decline. We are hopeful this trend will continue. As always, I encourage residents and businesses to contact the police department to report unlawful activity. It is critical that the police department is contacted immediately so that we can address these issues while they are unfolding. It is important that we continue to work together with mayor and council, residents, and business owners to make our community a great place to live and visit. We are working very hard every day on building a positive police-community relationship, and while we recognize there is still work to be done, we feel that great progress is being made. We are all lucky to serve in such a supportive community. So I personally want to thank the chief and the men and women of your department for, again, being proactive with these events and monitoring and preparing for the beach party. I was up on the beach boardwalk all weekend, and it was fantastic. Moving on to Rec, Pleasure Park looks almost done. Everything looks amazing. The structures look great, the water fountain, so I urge anyone who hasn't seen it to take a ride by. Open pickleball is ongoing every Wednesday night from about 6 to 9:30. We're averaging about 25 people a night, so it's pretty fun. Summer camp counselor training started this morning. As of today, we have over 120 kids registered. Camp will officially start next Monday, the 12th.
How many do we have left?
Well, we can't do that.
No, we had them signed up.
Oh, we had them signed up.
Yeah, we had it for 1 week.
Yeah, it was about
one day.
One day.
70? That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
the most, when I was a kid, I think we used to have 100. That's a huge number.
Yeah, it's nice. My Sophia was on it, she's a camp counselor.
That's because the parents are sick of the kids that can hold.
Well, all right. The tug of war planning is ongoing. More information will be released in the coming weeks. Unfortunately, this past Friday, the Rec and Chamber had to make the difficult decision of postponing the first Friday event that was supposed to take place downtown due to the threat of storms. Of course, at 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock when it was supposed to start, it was beautiful out, but we're going to reschedule for September. And then July 21st, we have skateboard lessons again at the skate park. And then I say at every meeting, the military banner initiative is ongoing. So try and get orders in before the middle of August. That's all I have there.
And then, Doug, how long are we going to leave them up for with the military banners?
We said Labor Day to Veterans Day. So since the beginning of September to the beginning of November.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. And I will say, piggybacking off of that, Chief, the beaches too are so much cleaner.
Yeah.
Because they got to shut down 7 o'clock. A couple rumblings here and there. Like none of these parties are getting on the beaches. There's nobody's drinking weed, drinking, smoking, literally. I guess they drink weed. Yeah.
And Shanks North and South are doing a great job too.
Yeah, and really, I'll tell you, overnight, like what's going on, it looks really good in the morning.
Really good in the morning.
Yeah. Council President?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start with my Arts Committee report. They have two new murals that have been put up. One is by the Remax building, which is on Bay and Laurel. I don't know if you took notice to it. It's blue with the fishes. It's really pretty, so if you haven't seen it, take a walk by. Also, the mural in, as Councilman Vitale said, in Pleasure Park, it looks great there for the kids, and Councilman Burns and a couple other people were painting, and it was really nice. I actually went by myself and took a selfie, but it's not completed yet. So, you know, if you do see it, take a picture and post it. And I believe the kids are going to love that. So the camp, that's really special. So thank you for that. And if any business or building owner is interested in a mural, please contact the Arts Committee. We would love to work with you and put something up on your building. As always, the Beach Party Art Festival, again, I'll mention it, it's going to be Thursday, July 22nd from 4 to 9. There are over 60 vendors. The Chamber is working with the businesses, partner up with the stores. We're going to have music at Ocean Music Place. They're going to have a banjo, they're going to have guitar, flute. So it's going to be a really great event. So make sure you put that on your calendars and check that out. And also the restaurants will be having party dinner special or cocktails to help showcase the culinary arts in our town as well.
That's great.
With beautification, as always, I'd just like to say thank you to our awesome volunteers that go out there to maintain the planters and the gardens. They look beautiful. I'm sure everyone here, when they go downtown and see those beautiful planters, I actually saw people today taking pictures. I mean, really, they're just, thank you. It's, you know, a huge commitment, so we really appreciate all that our volunteers do. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to all that came out to the Little Silver Lake cleanup. DJ was there. It was awesome to have you there. We had fun.
So your bag sitting on my front porch.
I thought you were going to bring it to this meeting.
I was going to, but I thought it might get a little crowded in here.
All right, no problem. But we've done some really neat things. They've done a bowling pin and a glass bottle from like a long time ago. They don't make those Pepsi bottles anymore. And I appreciate everyone that went out that day. And so do the residents that live over there. So thank you. And also to our amazing dive team that came out that day. Zoning and buildings. To just keep you up to date, this week they finalized new zoning module, Inca pilot, and is that up and running on the borough site yet? Okay, so it's going to be up and running, right? This means that anyone looking to take out zoning for a shed, fence, or curb sidewalk permit can fill out the application online and submit all the required paperwork through the web portal, which is awesome. So keep a lookout for that. We will be, and also we have a start date for the new full-time code enforcement officer. That will be July 15th. Just a heads up that they wanted me to mention, if they do, this is concerning dunes, if they do not have a dune deck, people should not be spending any time on the dunes. Residents can only be on the dunes if they are approved by dune deck. Otherwise, they will be hurting the dune grass that is there and, you know, protect everyone in the borough. So just be mindful of that. They wanted me to mention that. And I think that's really it for me.
Thank you for that update, and I saw the photos online of the Little Silver Lake cleanup. That was fantastic. I was out of town, but I wish I could have been there. But you guys did a phenomenal job. It looks like you guys all kind of got together and made a difference, because when that stuff leaves the Little Silver Lake parking lot, and before we were, especially since it happened right before we hired everybody, that was going in the reeds and going in the water.
And it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. Yeah.
Project cleaning up the lake.
Yeah,
It flows in, it flows in.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
And hopefully now with our two new litter patrol making a huge difference, I'm sure you've seen it already on the weekend, we won't have the need for the lake cleanup in the future. Councilwoman Burns?
Thank you guys. Good night. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry, not good night. Good evening. Good night, I'm going to start with my fire report. The new 4301 is now in service. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the continued support of the fire department. Christine, real as always, thank you to you. They are working to finalize the sale and delivery of the old 4301 to the Broad Channel Volunteer Fire Department in New York. The department coordinated with the first aid squad and the dive team to conduct the drill in regards to the firefighters becoming submerged in a swimming pool. And it's a concern certainly at any time they respond to a call to a service at home, and, you know, it's in the wee hours of the morning. Upcoming drills will include large area searches and CPR certification. They're always looking for new members, so if you know anybody that's just moved in town and might want to be involved in the volunteer fire department, please, you know, look for some information. On that note, the first aid is also now really seeking new members. You don't have to have any experience. They'll train you. They're looking for moms, dads, retirees, and students, so all are welcome. And they will train you with any, you know, even clerical skills they were looking for. And I'm going to just go on to the only report I have members for the senior committee. So there's a couple points I need to mention. Next week, Thursday, we spoke today, right, Kayla? Next week, Thursday the 15th, we'll be hosting a luncheon for the Golden Gold senior community. To help spread the word, I think there's just now been something in place that we're going to be able to maybe robo-call, you know, yes, I think they kind of finalized that today, too, so that should be coming to you. So we'll put flyers out, and flyers will be everywhere, but if you know anybody that wants to come out and join in the firehouse next Thursday, from 12 to 3, there'll be a complimentary luncheon, and we're going to serve you. So there'll be music, there'll be a really nice lunch that Alino's in the borough is making for us, and a couple of us are, you know, also making some specialty dishes that we do, and then we're just going to, so far we have like 63 people that responded, so that's not too bad.
What's the age cutoff on the card?
Well, yeah, kind of 65 and up, 65 and over, but certainly come over and join us. Come over and say hello. The following Thursday, on the 22nd, we'll be introducing a recreation day. So we're just gonna see what the community wants when they come out. But there's a chair, there's an instructor too that will demonstrate some chair yoga. There'll be, you know, some arts and crafts. There'll be some card games, some, you know, maybe a little poker game, that kind of stuff. Whatever really they'll just have to talk to us and see what it is that they would like us to implement. There'll also be somebody there, you know, giving some lessons to enhance computer skills for anybody that may need it. And then we'll just kind of see how that works out, you know, and so we're going to be there from 12 to 4 the following Thursday, and then we're going to introduce that once a month, maybe once every, you know, twice a month, and just, you know, see from there. And then on the 29th, we're going to have a fireworks boat cruise, and tickets will be $50, and we'll have pizza, beer, and wine, and some music, and we'll be out on the Queen Mary, and that will be to raise some funds really for our newly formed senior committee to bring other activities to them free of charge. So I think that's just about it for me. Shade Tree Commission will be offering again the very popular nominate your block for the Big Beautiful Tree program. It was very, very popular last year. And they're working on a memorial tree project right now, and so we'll put all that, when that's all together, we'll present that to you. And then we'll just, I don't know if we vote on it or whatever, but that's pretty much it. I wanted to keep it very brief tonight.
When you enter reports and you say that's pretty much it doesn't sound like it was that substantial.
Well, you know, in a minute I'm going to go, I wish I said that.
Right, but like, that was a lot. Like, the 3 events for the seniors are so huge. I mean, first of all, we've never had a senior committee. The fact that you guys are doing stuff instead of just sitting around not doing anything, they haven't had anything to do. 63 of them signed up to do a luncheon is phenomenal.
63 for a luncheon, which should be really nice.
On the fireworks cruise, are non-seniors invited?
Sure.
Okay. So
That's, all are welcome. So preferably, you know, families come out and come together.
What's going to happen on that?
80 people. Captain Dave would prefer that we kept it at 80 people.
Perfect. I'm in for both. So thank you,
Okay.
Councilwoman.
Yes.
Councilman?
I'm up. Thank you, Mayor. Real quick, start first meeting of the month, personnel. We have 2 from the DPW. We have anniversaries this month, recognizing Terry O'Connor, 16 years, Brian Patton, 7 years. Do that. Buildings and grounds. I know it's our shed that Aquaserve, you know, has down the Maryland Avenue Beach. If they're trying to get the electric hooked up, I know it wasn't hooked up, so I made a phone call, we're trying to make a phone call, we're working. We found out where, Ms. Real and I found out that it's our electrical inspector needs to push it ahead, so we're trying to light a fire under there. Ironically, they also do Bradshaw's Beach, and they have the same problem with their shift there too, so it's helping them. I know you touched on Pleasure Park, the equipment's done, it looks good. I did get a text message saying kids can go on it, but I talked to John Trout, and we're gonna wait, it'll be ready.
Yeah, we're gonna announce something once it's ready to go, we'll put it out.
They want to look to get some of the dirt, some of the other maybe sticks and other safety issues that might be around it.
Now, should we all get together, just,
Yeah.
Oh, you want to take a picture by the boat?
I don't normally do it, but I.
We should do a little something before we kick off.
I think we should officially kick it off, all of us.
It should. I was up on Bradshaw's Beach, yesterday. The crowd was nice, everything fine. I know they lock it up. I was on the boardwalk myself Friday night, 10 o'clock till about 2:30.
AM?
Yeah.
You're up that late?
Yeah.
That.
Nephew turned 21 at midnight, so, I did my own.
He just got in there,
Make
right,
sure
at
he got
midnight?
home. Huh?
He just got in there at midnight?
At midnight, that's right, a bunch of other nephews. But yeah, but I saw the crowd, it was decent, I was contacted by a good friend who is a neighbor of our property on Randall Avenue, and he said the signs look good. And the sign says, no minors, what's it say? No trespassing by minors, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., up to $1,000 fine.
Where's that?
Randall Avenue, our property is on Randall.
Okay.
So, yeah, and the street ends around the lake.
Keep that
My
private.
bike ride home from the beach yesterday, the sign on my street, the street sign, St. Louis and Washington was on the ground. And I also, I called John Trout just to let him know that. I don't think there was a motor vehicle accident, but it was on the ground. And he said, yeah, St. Louis and New York, St. Louis, and there was like 3 signs.
Wow.
And so I don't know what happened, but he's going to take care of that. And that's all for me.
Thank you very much, Councilman. That's all good stuff. And on the sign front, I see Mrs. Steiner here. We're getting you that sign for the gazebo for no skateboarding on it.
Yes.
Councilman Santinella?
I don't have much, other than to reiterate that I did send that letter into the State Local Finance Board, objecting to our budget. I'm not going to read into the minutes until I get a response from the state. That's it for me.
Great. Thank you very much. Councilman Megan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, later this week, I have the parking authority meeting, and I think last month we briefly discussed signage when the railroad lot goes to free in, I think it's September. Yes, and what I was thinking is that, you remember when it was a free lot many years ago, over a decade ago or so, 15 years ago, there was that big tall sign with the arrow. It was very iconic. It was very, how would you say, Art Deco. It had a big arrow that said free parking. Well, we can't recreate that, but I thought maybe we could get a fence sign made up, at least for the first month, to say free parking. And I'll discuss that with them tomorrow, Thursday night, And then I thought I'm going to have them send a letter to the chamber informing the businesses that the parking lot will be free come September, but that parking pass program will resume when it goes back to a paid lot in May. Yes. All right, we'll discuss it Thursday.
Just make sure it matches the sign.
What?
Just make sure it matches the sign.
Oh, yeah.
We can put metal signs up. Thank you very much, Councilman. Christine, do you have an administrative report?
I am working with the county, they've acknowledged our request for speed radar signs on Ocean and Water, Chicago, and for the fire department, for potentially a flasher event back in and out.
Wonderful, thank you.
I heard from the GSA and the Coast Guard Station, they started the appraisal process. Once they have their scope together, they're gonna share it with us, so we can start our appraisal and potentially move forward before the end of the year. On the agenda tonight is the DOT funding request for 2022, shows Dartmouth, Richard, and Arbutus, and that's released for consideration. And Atlantic Insulate, a local business that does road repair, came in and finished the areas we need, pothole fillers.
Which we're not paying.
I've not seen it.
Well, like I said before, I never had an objection to trying them, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying something. They fail,
Right.
I mean, you know.
And we want to make the right decision in giving them a couple of chances and then yanking it. Because quite frankly, Pete's the lawyer, but when it goes, if it winds up in court, you can't say we give them like 10 chances
We did
to
it
try.
repeatedly, and they have got that whole report I send in, you're more than welcome to use that for it, but yeah, we don't pay these people, so I admire the fact that you're gonna keep that campaign from.
Thank you.
Christine, the date on, the water main break on,
The water main break is Friday.
yeah.
They were asked to, from about
About-
6:30 to nearly 3 in the morning.
I talked to one on my bike ride home at 2:30.
Well, and that, again, underscores the issue of how old our water and sewer pipes are underground, which we need to continue to look at. I know the borough engineer is doing that, and we have, some idea of how old some of it is. But we need to step up our efforts when we get out of this pandemic next year, with fixing these things, because we're wasting money. When you can cure a lot of these pipes and coat them with the PVC on the inside, and we're knocking out, $10, $20, $30, $40,000 for these cave-ins, it's wasted money.
This was bubbling right from the valve, shut-off valve.
Every time I see the Wozniak truck, my wallet hurts.
Yeah, he was from 2 feet to be out Friday night.
Yeah, I saw him again today on, Arnold, right?
Right, and so they were up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then subsequently the next morning, they filled the water, because we found out that the line had still was there. And that then further led to a sewer issue. So it was several, maybe half a day.
Is Atlantic Infrared gonna, come out and patch the part of St. Louis and?
It just happened Saturday, so I.
Yeah, I know, will we have that?
And maybe we can negotiate in future years, since they're locals, a reduced rate for their friends in Point Pleasant Beach.
That would be nice.
Yeah, all right, great. Anything else, Christine? Thank you very much. Eileen, any additions or subtractions or wild changes we made?
Well, I added some things today to the agenda. It was items 2M through 2P. Item 2M is being held for a vote, and as well as item 1W. Christmas Eve, okay, so we'll remove resolution 5.
Resolution 5?
The budget.
Still, this building, they're probably waiting for, the governor to respond personally to Councilman Santino's letter.
Oh, he's a libertarian. Oh, yeah.
That's it for me.
Great, okay, so we're gonna move into first public participation. Did you have something you were gonna say?
No, wait, I have a question about one of the things. When can I answer?
You can answer right now, go for it.
2G, authorization to enter into small wireless facility, ROWs. I was trying to look for that, like, what is that?
ROW right away?
Like, can you explain that? But I just want to know, what is that? I mean, I know what it is, but can you explain it? Like, we vote, remember, with the... what is it?
It's a good question. Are we paying, or is that is literally just so that they can manage these?
Within our right of ways, yes.
Within our right, this is for our benefit.
But we still have each one come to us individually, right?
These are two
This
that.
is
That's
just
what I just wanted to
establishing, starting the work to look at the site.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
That is recapping our.
Good. Awesome.
Good question. Okay, first public participation. Please state your name, your legal residence, address, and town, and keep it to 3 to 5 minutes, please. Ms. Hennessy?
Hi, I listened to the first hour and a half of the council meeting on YouTube because I was out of town, and I got here just in time to see you guys coming out of the back and voting on something, but I don't know what you voted on. Is it appropriate for me to ask a question and make a few comments on the seafood festival?
It was on the agenda, so we can talk about,
Okay.
there was a motion.
I left off with, can we have a recess to go in the back and have a word with the chief? And then you were voting, so I'm not sure what happened in between.
There was a motion by Councilman Santinello to form a working group with 3 members of the council, which I believe were Councilwoman Burns, Councilman Cortez, and Councilman Vitale, in coordination with the Elks and the Chamber of Commerce and the chief to discuss the the seafood festival and presumably what, accommodations could be made to satisfy the issue of security.
Right, it was motion to hold it. To
Okay,
have that
that's
meeting,
what
to have the meeting with the parties named, to just see how, a mutual agreement where everybody's comfortable with it.
That sounds really great. And those were going to be my comments tonight. I should have followed protocol. Kristen Hennessy, 604 New Jersey Avenue, and I am a resident of Point. I just want to start off by saying that I think the chief knows this. I truly support the police department. In fact, the beautiful blue, I really didn't want to say this because I really wanted to remain, beneath board and anonymous on this, but, Councilman Vitale and Mayor Kenitra know that the beautiful black and blue signs that are all over town was my idea. I took it from something I observed in Spring Lake Heights and Manasquan, and I immediately, a year and a half ago, however long it was, reached out to both of you and said, we need this for Point Pleasant Beach, and we need it now. Get in touch with the chief, find a way. How can we do this? Because we need to show a united front in support of the police department. I just want to comment on something that happened last night. It's also another positive for the police department. Last night on our 4th of July weekend, I was riding my bike home from the Little League field. As I crossed Route 35 South, approaching my block, I came upon what appeared to be a block party happening on the 600 block of New Jersey Avenue. I saw smoke billowing out the side of a car. There were about 7 or 8 cars that were visiting, double parked into the middle of the street. What appeared to be about 20 to 22, maybe, I'm just going to call them inner city visitors who just did not like it. They were did not appear to be here to enjoy the sunshine and fun. I'll just leave it at that. But they congregated in a sort of a block party type fashion on New Jersey Avenue, and I said, I don't like the looks of this. I'm uncomfortable. I've got to ride through this to get to my family's house, and I immediately called the police. It was probably less than 3 minutes. I'm sitting on my bike, waiting, looking back to Borough Hall. I spoke with dispatcher Ferretti. I said, please send cars to the 600 block of New Jersey Avenue and send them quickly. There's something going on here that shouldn't be. So I say this to illustrate that the problems that go on in town don't only happen at the boardwalk and the beachfront. The problems that we are experiencing, and what also appeared to be happening as I, looked and I saw the smoke, and it was obviously there were smoking pots out in front of Michael Brodor and Mr. Schifano's home. The residents were all kind of peering out from inside their homes and their windows, as frightened as I was. Because this doesn't go on in Point Pleasant Beach, or it shouldn't go on in Point Pleasant Beach. But nevertheless, I quickly phoned the police department, and I said, please send officers and send them now. And I'm looking, watching, and within about 3 minutes, here I see them 1, 2, 3, 4. They showed up with 4 cars and 2 officers on bicycles. And they immediately dispersed the crowd, and off they went back to Patterson or New York or wherever it is they may have come from. But it's absolutely a testimony to the chief and how he has handled the visitors that have been coming during the past year of this pandemic. I also wanted to say that I'm so thrilled to be back in person. This is wonderful. As a teacher, I really tired very quickly of Zoom meetings and wanted no part of Zoom meetings. This is wonderful to be back in person. The last thing I'm going to say is, as I was listening to the council meeting on the YouTube option, I was literally reduced to tears by one person. It was, I don't know his name because I couldn't hear real well, but it was a gentleman who stood up here, he was wearing a white shirt and shorts, and he was the engineer who spoke about what the Elks does for this community. And I literally, I reached out to several of you, at least 6 of you in the last 24 hours, and I thank you for those, Arlene, and Andy, and Paul, who got back to me, to at least tell me what your position was. But I thank you for that. But I literally was reduced to tears listening to this man talk about what the Elks does for our community. And the comparisons of vendors who come here and sell nice smelling soaps versus what the Elks do for our community. And the only thing I want to say is I'm thrilled to hear how it all got resolved. There's going to be a meeting and we can come together because, as I said to several of you that I spoke to, where there's a will, there's a way. And this is not a political issue. I know it was at one time, but it's not anymore. Not for me, it's not. Whatever you ran on and you promised the people and you told the people you're going to bring the Elks back home. It's not a political issue anymore. It's really, for me, it's about what's right and what's right for the community. And I think that, I'm sure that Chief Michigan, if he's willing to sit down and have a meeting of the minds, and if all these great minds can come to the table in the spirit of cooperation and compromise, I think we could really come up with something that works for everybody, that will continue to allow Chief Michigan to keep our town and our residents and our visitors safe, but at the same time, supporting a local charity organization that's been here for decades and do so much for this community and are really an integral part of the Seafood Festival. I hated to see them go away, and I was thrilled to see them come back. So I hope that everybody who's going to be on that committee, I think you said it was Doug and Karen and Andy, and the others mentioned, I hope everybody will really go into this with an open mind and approach it not from a standpoint of digging your heels in the sand and defending your position, but rather come into it with an open mind and an open heart to say, how can we make this work for everybody so that we can all walk away happy. One thing I learned as a negotiator for the teachers union is that a good settlement is when everybody sort of walks away not really happy with what they got. A little bit happy, but not totally happy. Because really what that means is everybody kind of has to compromise and give a little to get a little. So that's what I hope to see when we come back at the end of July or beginning of August, whenever this will be addressed at the next council meeting, that everybody feels like they fudged a little and gave up a little bit, but also got in return. So thank you for continuing to work together. The atmosphere is very, very pleasant. Here on my first time back in the last year.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And look, people say the term political issue, and I think it gets used as a negative a lot of times, but the reason that things become political issues is because of people's personal passions and they choose to take stances in political campaigns, or because of the will of the residents being represented or not represented, and people, garnering strong opinions about that. So I think what you said was very eloquent and very appropriate.
And I just want to make one more comment. What really got me was, I am a special education teacher, and so supporting special needs children goes without saying in my book. Anybody who does that is doing God's work. Supporting veterans with the decline, the VFW lodges closing around the state. Anybody who's supporting veterans gets an A+ in my book. But what really got me is when he talked about supporting other Elks lodges around the state that are rehoming homeless vets. You just can't, that truly is God's work. So thank you for working to keep that going.
And no veteran should be homeless at all. It's a travesty in this country with the amount of money that we spend and send overseas and send to other areas that a single veteran is homeless. It's the a total disgrace. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Ms. Steiner?
Yes, Mary Steiner, 423 Yale Avenue. Would you please just explain 2E? It's been authorized to award landscaping proposal B. to
Proposal B. Proposal B is one of my favorite proposals.
Okay.
Proposal B is for the large majority of commercial-owned properties and investor-owned properties in town that have no presence here and let their properties get totally neglected. And I'll use well, the properties up and down 35 that fit that. This will enable us to have a landscaper on call that when the properties get to a certain length and the owners of those properties are non-responsive, we go out and we cut it for them. We just charge it to them, and if that means that we tax lien them for it, we do whatever needs to be done, but they pay for it.
Thank you.
Thank you so
We're
much.
gonna be reimbursed for that, whatever it costs us to hire.
We'll just pass it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna pay the contractor, the landscaper, 2 set fees, $100 for, 50 by 100, $125 is larger than 100.
Right.
We're then gonna bill it could be a residential property, it could be anyone who doesn't comply with the ordinance. We'll bill the homeowner, the business owner. If they don't pay the bill, we'll sell it taxes.
And our existing landscaper that's handling the public properties didn't want it.
Okay. Will the resident or building owner get a notice of violations and correct it on their own first?
Yes.
And then, if not, then.
They have 10 days, if it's not abated within
Right.
10 days, this gentleman will now have 3 days in which to cut.
Okay.
Good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Steiner. Anybody else on anything on the agenda? Okay.
Joe, I'm on 203 St. Louis Avenue. Talking about the Coast Guard house.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make you see? What do you do in the winter when nobody comes down? Close it up?
So the coast, go ahead.
I suggested to move the library down there, and everything I got was negative.
Okay.
When Reed was here, he talked about parking. He said there's no parking down there.
Okay.
There's 125 spots on Channel Drive, correct? The parking lot and everything?
Mm-hmm.
I asked him a direct question. Where's the parking on McLean? Is there any parking on McLean for the library? Yes or no?
So just so that you're aware,
Yes or no?
the library on McLean is owned by the Ocean
I am
County.
asking about a parking lot. I see parents walking across the street with the kids to go into the library. And they could get run over. It's a 2-lane road. Am I correct?
I understand.
I'm here 40 years, you know. I'm not a little kid on the block.
Of course not. And I just want to explain that this
That
governing body
building
has.
is gigantic.
Okay.
Put the library there, make a senior citizen place to sit.
We're going to have
The
that.
last time I talked there for 5 minutes, I got 2 paragraphs from Ms. Farrell.
Okay.
Joe understands it's a good idea.
Okay.
I talked for 5 minutes to Mayor Reed about issues, parking, this and that. There must be 10 gigantic rooms.
Sure.
I said there could be a rec room for the kids.
Of course. We're going to have
Hang
that.
out with the mothers. Hold it.
Okay.
You go to the old place that was built in 1492.
Okay.
The kids sit near the fireplace
Okay.
to play. They won't let you in the Coast Guard house, kind of security. But use the mayor, you could get the plans, they put new bathrooms in there, they got female bathrooms, male bathrooms, you know what you got in the old place? He-sheet bathrooms. Correct? You know what a he-sheet bathroom is? Guy and a girl could use it. Am I correct? How many bathrooms are in the Coast Guard house? They renovated that about 5 years ago. New air conditioning, new bathrooms, because the female Coast Guard stopped living in there. So they had to make female bathrooms. Now, let's put it this way. You got 2 bathrooms there. What happens if there's a weirdo hanging out in there? It's a man and female. And a he-she walks in there. Well, you know, they're having an issue now in the paper about that. Where the guy was walking around the floor. No, it's not funny.
I'm not laughing, I wanna explain the situation.
When that mayor told me there was, parking, when I asked him that question about McLean, I never got an answer. There is no parking on McLean Street. Am I correct? For the library. Do they have a sign there, parking for, the people who go to the library?
So if you want, I'm happy to answer. So just so you know.
Every time I come here, I used to come here 10 years ago, and I get agitated when I come here.
I'm gonna give you straight
I
answers.
never get a direct answer.
I'm gonna give you straight answers to every single component that you just asked me, okay?
Now, you're the mayor, you should go to that place and find out how many rooms are there. Okay. I know there's male and female bedrooms, brand new air conditioning, it was renovated. This place here, when you walk in there, you could smell mold.
Okay.
I was told by somebody, I ain't gonna drop no dimes, that place is full of moles.
Okay. So I'm gonna address.
I get agitated when I get up here, because I never get a direct answer.
I'm gonna give you a direct answer.
That's why I don't come here no more.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a direct answer to every single thing that you just said. So, well, no, I think it's first and most importantly, the borough does not own that library. The library is a unique construct, and the unique construct is that the building is actually owned by a nonprofit group called the Friends.
We don't own it.
We don't own it.
So why are we saying it?
I let you speak, and now I'm gonna speak, okay? So I'm gonna answer everything. So the building is owned by the Friends of the Little Red Library. It is, no, not Two Sisters, it's a huge nonprofit. The building is, historic, it's on our town's historic list. The library itself is run by the Ocean County Library System.
Oh, you give me an experience.
Hold on, I'm gonna answer, I let you speak.
I know all about that library. You don't have to tell me.
Oh, I'm only gonna tell you what we're gonna do with the Coast Guard station.
Now, all right, the Coast Guard is for $1.
Okay.
No rent.
$1. It's gonna be a lot more than $1.
That's what we're asking to buy it for $1.
Okay.
Am I correct?
That is not correct.
Donated?
We tried to get it donated. They were going to sell it for, affordable housing or to,
How much?
other groups, and we were gonna lose it.
If they want to sell it to us, the government, $1 million?
You know what, you haven't let me answer any of the questions. I was going to give you a response, I gave you respect. If you're not gonna give me respect, I'm not answering any more questions, and your time's up.
Whatever that,
If
that's
you'd like
owned
to
by government,
answer-
I understand governments donate land,
If you'd like me
property,
to answer, I will
to
answer.
things back to the Indians.
If you,
I'm pretty sure that'll be free, untaxable. What's better than that? This place here is an antique. It's been there for 50, 60 years.
if you'd like me
It's
to
a dump.
answer your question, I'll try
Period.
one more time. If you interrupt me one more time, I won't answer again, okay?
And you should write some stuff down too. But you
I-
don't write
do
nothing
not-
in
do
that
not-
paper.
do not harass, I will tell you, do not harass any other people in this council chamber.
I'll get my Sicilian though, that's okay.
That's not okay. We're in politics.
So here's the deal. We don't own the library, we don't control the library, it's a historic library. We're taking the Coast Guard station, we're going to put room for our recreation committee in there, we're going to put room for our senior committee in there, we're going to have space that the kids can use, we're going to have space that the seniors can use, we're going to have space that the environmental committee can use, we're going to have space that the arts committee can use, we're going to utilize that space so that the entire town benefits from that. And we're not moving the library because we don't have the power to move the library. 99.99999%, whatever percent it takes to get to the entire town minus you, like the old Little Red Library and wants to keep it there. And regarding parking, we're going to figure the rest of that out.
You know what, I think by law, you gotta have parking for facilities, especially if it's owned publicly, libraries, whatever, hospitals, you have to have parking. Now, there's no parking there. If I have to get a lawyer and sue and have an injunction because there's no parking there, I might do it.
This is the most interesting comment I've had since being mayor. You are now done, and we're moving on to the next person who would like to speak. And I apologize to Kayla. I'm sorry that needs to be experienced, but that has never happened before and will never happen again. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to close and adopt
I will make a motion to close public participation and adopt consent resolution 1, 2, and 3. And 4. Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's a resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Thomas?
Yes on everything but 3A, where it specifically states my reimbursement for the recommended. What just happened?
Councilwoman Burns?
Yes.
Councilman Cortez?
Yes.
Councilman Mandela?
I'm going to go away from my usual voting no on everything for a couple reasons. Well, first of all, there's a lot of employee issues on here tonight, and I try to vote yes for most of them. But I also know all of those camp counselors. I coached about 80% of them. I know the rest of them personally. There's no way I'm ever going to vote no on those guys. So I'm going to go with no on 1F. I believe that position should be both code enforcement and zoning, not split up. We already talked about that one. No on 2E. No on 2I, it's not the budget. I'm going to abstain on 3A in regards to the RT Davies invoice. And I'm going to abstain on 3F and 3J. Yes to everything else out of that.
Okay, so you're staying on 2A, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
which one was that, which invoice?
3A invoice to RT Davies.
3A.
Yeah. Just that part of it. The rest is fine, but I'm not sure how to carve that out. And Mr. Van Dyke was the one that gave me the advice to do it that way.
And then after
3F and 3J.
she's abstained.
Abstain, yeah.
Councilman Mays.
Yes, abstaining as needed on 3A, abstain on 3B, 3C, 3G, and 3I.
3A, 3B.
How about the way you did that, Mr. Van Dyke? Sorry.
G and I.
Yeah, normally I would just abstain for the whole.
Yeah, that's why I asked Mr. Van Dyke what we should do on that one. And I'm wondering, and this is something to ask, Mr. Weir, before we get a chance to talk to him, how do we pull out specific issues in that computer generated value? That's what Doug and I had to say on that. So there's got to be a way to pull that out. Mr. Van Dyke gave us good advice. We're going to hold that for tonight because he said that's okay. But we should come up with a more efficient way of doing it. Does that make sense, Christine?
Okay. We have two ordinances. Both are on for second reading. Public hearing. Ordinance 2021-28, an ordinance of the Borough of Pleasant Beach and the County of Ocean, New Jersey, providing for various water and sewer utility improvements and appropriating $380,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $361,000 in bonds or notes of the Borough of Pleasant Beach to finance part of the cost thereof.
Okay, we're going to open that up for public participation since it's the second reading for the hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak on ordinance 2021-28? Hearing none.
Motion to close and adopt.
Thank you. Second, perfect, great.
Okay, hold on one moment. So that was Councilman Mayhew,
Yes.
second, Doug?
Santinella.
Okay. Councilman Vitale?
Yes.
Councilman Testa? Yes. Councilwoman Burns?
Yes.
Councilman Cortez?
Yes.
Councilman Mandela?
Yes.
Councilman Mayhew?
Yes.
Okay, so that ordinance has been adopted. And then we have ordinance 2021-30, an ordinance of the Borough of Point Pleasant Beach, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 19 entitled Development to create a new section entitled Seasonal Outdoor Dining.
Okay, we're opening it up for public participation for the hearing. Councilman Cavanero?
Good evening, Dave Cavanaro, one of the Parkway. I was looking at the minutes of the last meeting, and there was some discussion about tables on restaurants. The planning board asked a question: if somebody touch outside dining, and they got what they had via variance. We have to go back to where the variance was issued, not this ordinance. I think you generally want to get very specific.
No, I think I understand what you're saying.
Because there are some facilities that their ability to operate had a condition of no outside dining. So they can get relief from that, and go back to where they are.
Okay, of course, because that would not fit the components of the permit process that we're doing here. Correct. Okay, great, thank you very much. Okay, hearing no other comment, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to close and adopt.
I'll second.
Great.
Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
Councilman Testa? Councilman Burns?
Yes.
Councilman Cortez?
Yes.
Councilman Santinelli?
Yes.
Councilman Singh?
Yes.
All right, we're opening up second public participation for anything that was not on the agenda. Dr. Moreau had his hand up first, DJ. Oh, go ahead. Please state your name, legal address for the record.
So nobody is thinking that I'm pretending to be a resident. My legal rep, I'm Dr. Rob Moreau. I live at 809 Howard Avenue in Pleasant Borough. But I pay taxes at 208 River Avenue in Point Pleasant Beach. And I consider myself a citizen of Point Pleasant Beach, not Point Pleasant Borough.
Thank you.
I would just, again, last time I spoke to the brilliance of the Board of Education meeting where they listened to the people and decided to change their decision. And they did it, and I thought that was amazing. I talked about that last time. And I just want to give you guys props for doing what you did tonight. I think it's brilliant. And getting a working group together and making sure everything is okay with everybody. And I think that was brilliant. And I wish more people had been here to see that. I really do. And I also love, Mayor Knipper, that you go for fact-based things. That's important. And so I hope you realize after you posted that thing about the $24 an hour, that it's not the Democrats in Trenton that was the problem there. It was that people didn't know about it. And you found that out in real time. It's not the extra $300 a week that prevents somebody from getting a low-paying job. That's not it. And I gave you a bunch of fact-based studies on that, so if you want to look at that. So I love the fact that you're going to embrace fact-based opinion. I think that's brilliant.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate you setting me up for that. I'll respond with more fact-based stuff. I think you should speak to another local business owner. I think you should go ask Joe Antrona, who runs Joe Leone's, if you can see the book with 18,000 help wanted signs from across the state of New Jersey. I think that is a factually based, telling sign about how many businesses are struggling to get anybody in.
Or wherever you got that conclusion from. Let's say I was in a university and I was an economist, and I looked at that same data, and I said, well, what's causing that? And so I went out to look at all the data that's present, and I spoke to people that were unemployed, thousands of people, not tens of people, thousands of people, and then published that in a major journal. I'm just saying, look at that too, as you make your decision.
We're in agreement, you and I, that, if every business in town was offering $100 an hour, we'd have no problem filling those positions. But the reality of the situation is every job is not a $100 an hour position, because an economy can simply not run on that. And what you'll see happen is like what's happening with McDonald's, where when places institute super high minimum wages, they just replace the workers with machines, and that hurts everybody. So, I think you're going to see more and more prevalence in terms of things like that, but that's just my 2 cents. Right. Self-checkout, you're checking out your own groceries now, right?
No.
I refuse to.
What I'm saying is that you found an easy thing to say, that it's, the Democrats and $300 a week extra by bringing the CARES Act through September. I just want you to know that it's not easy to get unemployment. And as an employer, I know that, because two of my employees tried to get it, and we went against it at the state labor board. One for cause and one because they quit. Neither of them got a penny. It's not easy, first of all. And the extra $300 works out to $10 a day. And that ends in September. So no, that's not.
Wait.
The
How
primary
is it $10 a day? If it's $300
because you have extra $300 a month.
It's a week.
Then I'm mistaken.
The libertarians are now coming to.
What I'm saying is that's not a livable wage, and it ends.
There's a lot more nuance to this whole thing than just people don't want to work because of the unemployment. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
But some of the nuances, some people are saying at this point in their careers, do I need to deal with this jerk that's treating me bad? It's an open market, I need to go someplace else. There's some people saying, I can't live on that minimum wage, so maybe I do have to stay in that little while to take care of my kids because they weren't in school, there was no daycare and things like that. There's a lot more nuances, but also on the other hand, there's definitely people that are built in the system. No way to say very much.
And there's a subpopulation of those people. It's not the majority by any way.
I was going to say, a lot more nuance than you or the mayor say. There's a lot more.
Thank you. And I also want to say one last thing, is that you can see it's not evil to question an occasional thing.
I don't think it is. I think when you imply, when it always seems to be, I thought you were coming up here to speak to us about tactical gear and the need for tactical gear, and then I was gonna have to be on the cheap side again all night long. But, I get it. I
don't say no to everything.
Okay.
That was just simply a lot.
We're all good. We appreciate it. Okay, EJ's next. Tough act to follow tonight, EJ.
Mine's nothing elegant. EJ and I are going 16 on Avenue. At the lake cleanup the other day with Marlene, we were like, what in God's name is that lovely smell? And there was probably about a dozen to 2 dozen just bait fish lined up along the shore of Little Silver Lake. I guess, at one point the gate was open. They came in, and then the gate was shut, the sluice gate or whatever you want to call it. So they were trapped in there, and they wound up dying like a oxygen in the water and things like that. We were just wondering, discussing how often does that get raised and lower to allow fresh air, fresh water in, the fish to come in, to get out, things like that.
So Christine can find out from John Trapp. What we have been trying to do at all the lakes is clean out, find a happy medium and clean out the traps on a more regular basis, which hadn't happened for like 3 or 4 years before this last one. But Christine can get that answer.
Yeah, like I said, it wasn't anything elegant, it was more of a smelling method to talk about.
We don't want any fish.
Like you said, a happy medium.
Yeah, happy medium
with the lake
level, like raising along it.
To prevent flooding.
Right, prevent the flooding from my house, in front of everybody's house.
Right.
But maybe, let it drain out a little bit more, fill up a little bit more, maybe a little more often, give the water life chance to get in and out when it's open.
And they were saying to do it again with the.
The geese dropping out of the lake. If we,
And they were talking about too, like putting, again, Richard was there about, or is that like grass, not high grass, but low grass.
The residents.
Not grass, no.
The residents don't like the tall stuff, unfortunately.
No, not tall, but it'll be tall.
Oh, all right.
Anyway.
just low enough stuff to keep the geese from.
Like, it would prevent that, and people going there, they wouldn't, eat that.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, that's all.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. How was your first council meeting? You ever coming back? Okay. All right. Hearing none? Is there a motion? All right.
I'll make it.
Chief.
All in favor?
Give me 1 second.
Aye.
I've never seen anybody yell for a report before. And I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Chief.